Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 378. Out with the ginger, in with the Matt. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, getting the hot tag. I'm ready to go.
Yes. It's a shame we couldn't have all three of us, but hey, he's off. He's at a concert today. Like, he's actually off work, but he had a concert planned for months, so he's.
Let's go. Which concerts you go to? You didn't listen.
I have no idea.
Yeah. There's a big concert here in Vegas today, and I'm just too old to want to go deal with that all day. So I didn't get tickets, and now I kind of have FOMO, just a little bit. I would have liked to see Blink-182 today.
I did see a Photoshop though of the dome with the Laura Palmer orb from Twin Peaks, and that popped me huge. Frankly,
good. Are you sure it was Photoshopped? Because they've been doing some weird stuff lately.
I'm assuming it was so specifically like nerdy and niche that I assumed it was Photoshopped. I mean, maybe they did really just put it on there for a minute.
Like,
I don't know.
For the longest time, I thought the pumpkin was a Photoshop, and they really throw the pumpkin up there every so often. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm staying away from down there though. It's just right now, it's people going just to stare at the outside of something feels like a horror movie. Like they're being drawn there, and like, no, not for me.
It was a ballsy marketing move though to make the outside of it a screen as well as because the inside makes sense. That's part of the show. You're in there, you're watching something, and there's the ceiling and the walls are all turning into like space or whatever weird shit's happening. But turning the outside into a giant ball of a screen was a ballsy move. It was. Well,
and you can see it. So the part of town I live in the southeast part of town. When you get off the freeway, you're up a little bit higher. On a clear day, you can see the sphere. And you can't really tell what's on there at night. Sometimes you can, but in the day, and I'm just wondering how often they're going to have to replace those with the sun out here.
I imagine it's a protected. I'm sure they factored in the weather conditions when they were building it.
Yeah, for sure. But the sun out here does damage to things. Like that's one part of the stuff when they build things that they have to take into account. Because we get like 330 days of sun out here on average.
I'm going to sound like such an old man here, but part of me thinks, is it a little bit unethical with how much electricity this thing probably needs to run to even have it? Like, that feels like we're just wasting energy, maybe a little bit.
Oh, sure. I'm sure people say, but they're LEDs. Yeah, but there's like 500 million LEDs.
Yeah, but it's like 16K resolution and like X number of pixels and I don't know. It's a lot of screen. Yeah,
the one of my friends from work went, and she told me that it was cool inside, but what really tripped her out, there's these robots that look like the iRobot, and they greet you when you come in. And she said that she was almost instantly out. She's like, I'm not. So you add that in too. There's animatronics there. How much energy is this thing taking? How much is it siphoning? That power bill's got to be ridiculous, because I know what our power bill is here.
Yeah.
So
the cost
and the fact too, like I can't think of another artist there that's going to make it worth it. But my brain doesn't think like that. I like very, not slim pickings, but very bare punk rock shows. I don't need giant screens and stuff. Or to see U2. It was bad enough they tried to put a album on my phone. I don't want to go see them play this massive thing where you can't get away from it.
You'll be trapped inside with them. That's the idea. Anyway, welcome everyone. This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together. We talk about this week's DC Comics. Coming up on this week's show, we have Superman issue 7, Nightwing 107, Catwoman 58, Green Lantern War Journal issue 2, Batman Superman World's Finest 19, Titans issue 4, J. Garrick The Flash issue 1, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong issue 1 rounds it out. And if you're wondering where is City Boy, Matt was struggling for time and I just kind of forgot about it, but do not fear, we're just going to add it on to the list in a couple of weeks time, because week ones are quite quiet right now, so we'll do it in 2 weeks. We're not going to leave it behind. It'll get done just a couple of weeks late.
I like it a lot, and I made the mistake of saving it for last instead of prioritizing it, but it worked out because Pete forgot. So.
Yeah, so we'll do that in a couple of weeks. Not next week, because next week actually has slightly more books than this week. So we've got plenty to do next week. So week after, we'll slot it in. So that is what's coming up on the show. But it's also a Solicits week, so we have that to pick apart and talk about.
Yep.
Pair of the
I'm
Solicits.
counting the books for next week already.
I originally counted 10 for me, but I don't think Brave and the Bold has the Tom King story. I think that's not until issue 9.
Okay.
The final part of that. So I think it's just 9 books for me.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But still, it's a lot.
It's a hefty week. Yeah, there's a few number ones plus everything else that's out already. So. Yep. We'll get to that list at the end of the show, as we always do. We'll start with Matt's favourite segment. He just had to come back from his anniversary and whatever the hell he was doing last week for the ComiXology Top 10.
I try not to correct you, but it was my birthday 2 weeks ago.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was the anniversary.
Not the anniversary. Yeah, and then last week I was just busy, so had appointments to take care of.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm not even sorry. Let's look at the ComiXology rankings for Tuesday to start off with, since that's DC Day. What do you think number 1 is as of right now in ComiXology, Matt?
I'm going to guess Superman number 7 because it was an oversized issue.
That is incorrect, I'm afraid.
What? Come on. All right, then give me Nightwing.
Also incorrect.
Don't tell me Catwoman.
No, it's not Catwoman.
Okay. What the heck could it be then? I'm looking at the rest. Is it Green Lantern?
Nope.
Okay. It's not Godzilla and Kong.
He's floundering. He's floundering bad.
It's not Godzilla and Kong, is it?
Nope.
World's Finest?
World's Finest is number 1.
Wow. Hey, good for Mark Waid.
Yeah, Mark Waid's name's selling. Number 2 is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay.
So I was laughing when you said it can't be that, can it? I'm like, well, it's number 2, so it's not far off.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, just a weird tie-in book like that. I wouldn't think. I would feel like they would move those more physically because my shop had a bunch of them.
Godzilla's a draw, Matt. Just face it. Godzilla is a draw.
And so is Kong. It's like saying that. That's like saying Orton wasn't a draw. Orton was a draw too. Just happened to be with Cena.
Like, you need a heel for the hero to fight, okay? That's what Kong's there for. So, number 3 is Superman. Number 4 is Titans. Number 5 is Nightwing. So the 2 Taylor books doing still well back to back there. And then we got number 6 is J. Garrick the Flash. Number 7 is Catwoman. Number 8 is Green Lantern War Journal. Number 9 is Batman White Knight Presents Generation Joker. And number 10 is Hawk Girl. Meaning the books that missed out in the top 10 would have been City Boy is 15, Cyborgs 13, Sandman Universe, Night Countries 14. So yeah, there's a bunch of things. Number 11 is actually Fables 160. Wow. Which is still vaguely DC actually. So very good. So very nice. Do you know, Marvel have started putting out classic issues, because they're constantly just going back and adding some of their digital issues to things. They've started putting out classic issues on Tuesday. So last week, when there wasn't that many books out, like some of those classic Marvel books were actually kind of getting up there in the top 10.
Now, what are they counting as classics? Are we talking like?
Oh, it's old books. It's like
Incredible Hulk 181.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is like what Moon Knight Special issue 1 from 1992 and Web of Spider-Man issue whatever. So
gotcha. Yeah,
it's just a bunch of random old stuff that they're uploading gradually. So that is Tuesday. Pretty healthy week for DC in terms of the books and whatnot. So what about Wednesday, Matt? You got a guess for Wednesday?
Well, there's a new number 1 I see, but I don't expect that to be a big. So I don't know, maybe. I don't know what it ties into, but it doesn't look like it's a typical thing. So I'm gonna take a guess that it's Children of the Vault.
It is not.
It's not. Okay, well then I'm going to say Crypt of Shadows.
Nope.
Whoa, okay. Then I have... Wait. It's not Spine-Tingling Spider-Man, is it?
Nope.
Okay. Then I have no guesses.
I don't think you would ever have guessed this, to be honest. Number 1 right now on ComiXology is Invincible Iron Man issue 11.
What? But why, though? Let's see.
I don't know. Debut character, maybe, or something?
Maybe debut character. Let's see who's...
But that really affect digital sales, though?
I don't think so. It's got Emma Frost. There's a tie into Fall of X, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe
weird.
that's...
I don't know.
It's tied into the X event. Maybe that's just all it is. Number 2 is Children of the Vault. Number 3 is Big Game issue 4. That's a Mark Millar indie book, so congratulations, I guess. 4 is Astonishing Iceman. 5 is Daredevil. Number 6 is The Sensational She-Hulk, issue 1. Number 7 is Avengers Inc., issue 2. Number 8 is Incredible Hulk, issue 5. Number 9 is Scarlet Witch, issue 9, funnily enough. And number 10 is Gargoyles Halloween Special, issue 1. So Disney, well, technically that'll be Marvel published, I assume, because it's owned by Disney, but it's Disney branding on this book specifically. So
how did I miss this? I would have bought this had I seen it. I love Gargoyles.
I never saw Gargoyles as a kid. It just
it's taught me about Shakespeare, because they use a lot of Shakespearean characters and stuff, and the whole Arthurian legends and all that stuff. You know, what started off as just a pretty decent, just like kind of kids show, really got into itself on continuity and storytelling. So, oh wow, yeah, it's all set in their current continuity. So it's cool. It's from Greg Weisman too, who created the show. But yeah, it looks like it's branded through Dynamite though. So I don't know how that stuff works now with Marvel and licensing.
Yeah,
because it's Disney, but it's put out through Dynamite. So.
Yeah. And then Turtles had issue 144 out this week. I'm just pointing out that that's still going strong. that run keeps going. So, very good. There you go. That's ComiXology Top 10 for the week. You are welcome, everyone.
Yeah. You gotta say it like Sandow. You're welcome.
Don't
be proud of it.
Just don't call me a hero. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Don't call me a hero. Alright, there you go. But we do have solicits to look at for January, and I'll remind everyone that the first week, or at least most of the first week of January, was solicited already in the December solicits. So if you think something's missing, it might be something that was already solicited, so not necessarily a reason to worry. That's not to say that there isn't anything missing that I've not noticed, because there very well could be, but keep that in mind. So looking at January solicits, it is a 5-week month, so we might see an annual or two. So we have Action Comics 1061. This is Jason Aaron. We knew that Jason Aaron, this was part of the news last week, is that they're doing this rotating thing where each creative team's only doing 3 issues of Action Comics. So it's Jason Aaron for the first 3 of the year, and then there's a crossover with Superman written by Williamson for the second, and then we don't know who the 3rd and 4th teams are yet, but they'll announce them at a later date.
Yep.
So that's the thing.
I mean, I'm very excited that Jason Aaron's kicking that off.
I'm sure, yeah. Interestingly, it doesn't seem to have other writers, which would maybe suggest that we're not doing a backup, so it's going to be 3... Well, they're actually shorter because right now they're doing the 2 backups, so they're really big issues of Action Comics.
Right.
It seems like, starting with this, they're down to the $5 40-page format. But there's no other creators for a backup. So unless it's the same team doing the backup, I assume, and because they're only getting 3 issues each, maybe they're getting, that 10 extra pages per issue.
They're getting the full whatever it works out to with the ads, because it's not a full 40 of stories.
No, it's about 30 or 32 or something like that. With
so they'll get that, and John Timms on the art. Seems like a pretty solid team.
Yeah, so that's cool. We have Batman and Robin 2024 Annual, written by Williamson, so probably ties into the main book well enough. We got Detective Comics 1081. That's
a beautiful cover.
It is quite pretty. Yeah, it's like a cave made of... it looks like the bat cowl, but it's also kind of skull looking as well. It's got a bit of a mix to it.
Yep. I'm trying to see which one that is.
Yeah,
cover,
also...
if that's Evan Cagle.
Federici's listed here as one of the artists on this issue.
Yeah, and Stefano Raffaelli. So either way, both those artists, big fans of.
In good hands. We got the Penguin issue 6. So that is... Oh, that's not a mini. I was thinking, is that wrapping that up? But yeah, that's just ongoing. So, at least for now anyway, so fair enough. Very good. That's been so good after the first 2 issues that hype is there. And I know why Matt is smiling, because he's looking at the next thing, which is the Valentine's one-shot, the 80-page $10 book, which is called DC's How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days.
So that's one of me and my wife's movies. We like that movie. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Now you're going to put Guy Gardner at the center of it. I feel like I'm going to end up buying this. I'm going to be very upset with myself. So I'm going to buy it for the lulz or just having it because it's,
I mean,
it's got a fun title.
I recognize Margaret Savage on the writer list, and Dennis Hopeless as well, but all the names after that, I do not recognize any of them.
No. But it's got an Amanda Connor cover, so that, looks good.
You know what? If you want to blow your money on dumb shit you don't want to read, it's on you.
It's so, I know. I say this a lot, though. I say this a lot with the Halloween titles, too. I end up not getting them. But yeah.
All right, we got a reprint of Batman 28. Let me start that sentence again.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, a reprint of Batman 428, Robin Lives, which is a Jim Starlin comic. Obviously, this is your Jason Todd, Death in the Family stuff. We have the Trinity Special issue 1, which is effectively an annual for Wonder Woman. It's just called Trinity Special by Tom King with Sampier and Ortega on art. So it does feel like this, much like the Batman and Robin one. This feels like it's very much going to be a part of the run that's ongoing, which I like. I like that in the 50-week books. Give me an extra issue in one of the runs. I'm all for that. So that is cool. Nice cover as well.
Yep.
Happy to see it. Then we have Titans Beast Worlds issue 4, 5, and 6, because this is obviously they're firing through the event over 2 months. Issue 6 being the last issue. That's oversized, that one, versus the other issues. And that's out again in the last week of the month. So week 5 in January is looking quite nice. It looks like there's like 3 or 4 meaty books that are either tying in or finishing off stories or events. So I'm all for that. Hopefully it's good stuff. And there's one more tie-in as well for January that they've announced here. Titans Beast World Tour Star City issue 1, which has got Williamson, Ryan Parrott, Robert Venditti, and Branton Steen writing, with Jamal Campbell, Roger Cruz, Gavin Goodry, and Branton Steen on art. So,
yeah. Venditti, I wonder what Venditti's doing. What part of the story? Always curious with him.
I imagine it's split up into different characters related to Green Arrow. Yeah. So. Who knows?
Well, yeah, but I'm like, is he going to be doing, because I like this Hawkman, so I'm trying to think what could we. Venditti didn't do Ollie or any of the Arrow characters, huh?
He's not
Justice League.
He's not written a Green Arrow book, no, certainly.
Yeah.
He just started the Sandman book that was last week. Issue 1 came out.
I gotta read that still.
Yeah.
Behind.
Obviously, the art's not amazing. I actually quite liked the story though. Connor was a bit more mixed on it, so.
I was shocked.
See how you feel about it, but I thought it was not bad.
I'll get there. Yeah, you gotta read that and the Christian Ward book. So. Yes,
that was. Do you know what? Yeah. That book is pretty good with great art, and then about maybe 10% from the end, it becomes amazing.
Fantastic.
Right.
Gotcha.
There's a turn, and you'll know the page when you get to it.
Yeah, you gotta read that still, so I'm behind, but I'm working overtime tomorrow, so I plan to get caught up.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like there's a Oliver and Connor story, and then a Black Canary story, and then a Red Arrow and Stargirl team up. So at least that's 3 of the stories anyway. So, fair enough. We have Titans issue 7. Obviously just continue Taylor's run. This is Travis Moore on art, who's actually a fine artist to have slot in if we can't have Nicola Scott for a little bit. No complaints there. We have Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong issue 4. We'll talk about issue 1 of that later. Well, at least I will anyway. Matt didn't have a chance to read that, which is weird because he's the King Kong fanboy.
I know. It's one of those things that just work and craziness.
I get to make up whatever I want.
I still have the issue, so I will go through as you're going to keep you honest.
Oh, no. Would you believe it? King Kong got his ass whipped on page 3 and page 4. And page 5? Oh,
by none other than Plastic Man.
Now he's getting teabagged by Guy Gardner. This is so weird.
Oh, no. I don't know how to feel about that.
Although, the reason why I said Guy Gardner is I tried to think, what superhero is immature enough to teabag someone, and Guy Gardner's the first name that came to mind.
It's either Booster or Guy. Yes. It's one of the two. Like, you can't, it's gotta be.
Maybe Jason Todd. I could see Jason Todd teabagging.
I don't know. He's too self-serious anymore.
Maybe, he's a bit aggro for it, I guess. Yeah, that's fair. We have Batman 141, Chip Zdarsky, Jorge Jimenez. We're still doing Zero and R stuff because the cover is very much You know, a split like Two-Face kind of thing.
The horrors persist.
Yeah. Oh well, it's become kind of, you know, whatever. We have Batman Offworld issue 3. This is the Jason Aaron miniseries, which obviously we've not had the start of yet, so we can't comment. But I'm intrigued, if nothing else, on what this is. We have Batman and Robin issue 5, continuing Williamson's run. Looks like more Damian School stuff, judging by the cover, which I'm happy about because it's my favourite part of the book. We have Batman Brave and the Bold issue 9, which notably has the conclusion to the Tom King and Mitch Gerrard's Joker story, and I think it's the only part that's left as well. I think this is part 4 of 4.
Okay.
So we can double check that when the new issues come out, but I looked ahead at the solicits for the trade, the collection that's further down, and that just says from issues 1, 2, 5, and 9. So we've done 1, 2, 5 already. So
we still got a while, man.
Yeah, it's a few months before we get that last part.
That's a bummer. It will be worth it, though.
Yeah, it'll be consistent, and obviously that's great. So very much looking forward to that story wrapping up. So that's cool. We have Nightwing 110, which, what the hell am I looking at here?
This is the lady yelling in the cat react meme.
I mean, I get that, but is that Damien who's the cat?
I believe so.
I mean,
because I don't see Dick wouldn't be yelling at any of the other Robins like that. So,
I mean, I'll be honest, it didn't even click it was the meme because I was too focused on who the hell's turned into a cat.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's the lady yelling at a cat.
Yeah, it's got to be Damien because there's also John is on there.
Yes.
So
it makes sense. That's fun. It probably ties into the Beast World stuff.
Beast stuff, yeah.
That makes sense. Catwoman 61. Notable the cover for this, which is very nice, has the classic purple with the black boots outfit. And Stefano Raphael's on art for this issue. Not that Nico, who's on the current stuff, is by any slouch, but as another Tini Howard's getting another artist, which makes me wish I liked the book more than I do.
Yeah.
Oh well. It is what it is.
But yeah, I like that costume a lot. The purple costume's
honestly
iconic.
It's probably either this or the goggles are my favorite Catwoman costume, and I'm not sure which. I kind of go back and forward.
The goggles that when she flips them up make them look like cat ears, right? That's my favorite, just because it fits her character so well. That's also when she's more of an anti-hero. But when she's a villain, you know, on that side more, the purple really stands out.
We got Harley Quinn 36. That's just rocking on. Nothing to say.
Yeah.
Outsiders issue 3, which issue 1 for this has been getting some buzz from the retailers who had advanced copies. They've been trying to encourage people to pre-order it. So hopefully we end up feeling the same way when we get our hands on it. Luckily, the Gilla March name that you're seeing there is just for a variant cover. There's nothing to worry about.
Yep.
Just keep that in mind. Superman Lost issue 10, that wraps up in January. Sadly, I just didn't care enough to keep reading it. It got too bogged down in its own stuff. But we have Superman Batman World's Finest issue 23. That is a very pretty cover, actually. There's the dark background with just the lightning and the red floors, very stark.
It's very reminiscent of Mora's work on Once and Future.
Yeah. So that's coming out in January. And we have Batman Superman World's Finest 2024 annual. So I think this is maybe our last week 5 book. And this has got Mark Waid, but also some other names here, so I assume that means backups in this case rather than one big story. Cullen Bunn, Stephanie Williams, Dennis Culver, and Christopher Cantwell are also credited as writers. And then on art, we've got Edwin Galmon, Rosie Campe, Travis Mercer, and Jorge Fornes. I feel like Fornes is the only one there that I know, but I like Fornes a lot, so it's a good name to recognize.
Yeah. Travis Mercer feels familiar too.
It sounds... So. I don't know if it's that or if it's just because the name Mercer, I think, is from something else, and it's making my brain click. And we have
I'm trying to figure out which one Fornes is working on, because I would hope the Metamorpho.
And we have a Travis Moore, obviously, who does art at DC, so I think my brain's combining them together a little bit. We got Superman issue 10. Bruno Redondo's doing this issue, which I'm a little sad about, because it means he's not doing Nightwing for a bit, but Superman's a cowboy on the front cover of this. I don't know how Matt feels about Superman Cowboy, but... I
mean, it's making me feel things that I'm conflicted about, so... You know,
what, sexually?
Here I thought the only cowboy I was into was Hangman, but now you got Clark. So here we go. He wouldn't botch. the Superman would not botch the buckshot. I'll tell you that much.
No, he would not. He doesn't even have to. He doesn't have to flip in the road. He can just fly in with a clothesline. He doesn't need to do the flip. We have Wonder Woman issue 5 with another fantastic cover. That is gorgeous. So it's a red star. Wonder Woman's in front of the star, but the negative space, because the star's kind of off center, so you only see like most. It's like just over half the star you see, but on the side where there's like more space, the top white part is actually blue with a villain in it, and then the white underneath that part is like a secret agent and like negative space, and then the bottom, which is yellow, is the White House. It's just gorgeous. It's very well done.
Or the Capitol.
Was it the Capitol? Sorry,
it's
you're
the
right.
Capitol. Yeah, it's at the Rotunda.
All important American buildings are the same.
It's fine.
No, to be fair, now you've said that, it doesn't look anything like the White House. It's important U.S. building. Who cares?
But don't expect important things happening in there, especially right now. Like, it might be an important building, but there's nothing but circus shenanigans going on there right now.
Yes, this was the one that was stormed, right? That's the okay. Yeah, just keeping it right in my head. So yeah, very good. Obviously, issue 1 was fantastic. Really looking forward to issue 2 later this month. We have Amazon's Attack issue 4. In fact, we get issue 1 of that next week, so we'll check that out. But this is Josie Campbell writing this, of course. So looking forward. We have The Flash issue 5, which Connor was very down on issue 1 of this. But
as was I. I was more middling compared to Connor, but I thought I was down on it. He was way more down. I'm still gonna give it time.
Yeah. I figured you would be. I was definitely more. It was definitely wordy, and I don't know if that'll change. But I was kind of into what it was doing otherwise, though. So I'm kind of cool with it as long as it keeps me engaged. Speed Force issue 3, not started yet, so can't comment, but that's Wallace and Avery doing stuff. We have Green Lantern issue 7, so that's cool. Peter J. Tomasi's doing the backup here.
His return to ring slinging, which I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's cool. We got Green Lantern War Journal issue 5. We'll talk about issue 2 of that a little bit later. But very nice cover here, actually, this one as well. We have Power Girl issue 5. We have Green Arrow issue 8, which...
he looks happy. I'm happy for Ollie, but, you know.
I feel like that's the book now that we're kind of reading ironically, I guess, is the way to put it. I'll put it that way. Wesley Dodds, The Sandman issue 4 was out in January. We have Jay Garrick, The Flash issue 4, also out in January, as well as Alan Scott, Green Lantern 4, which has probably, out of those three, I mean, Sandman's cover is very nice, but Alan Scott, Green Lantern's cover is very stunning, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's what it does with all the negative space too, right? Of this cape, and then the darkness behind him. Him holding the lantern. Yeah, it's
very, very, very good. Justice Society of America issue 9 has been solicited for January. It'll probably not actually come out in January because they just announced delays to all the other issues that are coming before it. So expect this in maybe April, I would guess, if I was to pin it on anywhere. We have another big $10, in this case 100-page special, DC Power 2024, celebrating various black characters in the DC universe. For Black History Month, I presume. I know, obviously, that's February, but this is out in the last day... second last day of January, so obviously they want it in stores before it hits February, and that's why this is here. So, yeah, they've been doing this for a few years now, so not surprising. Makes sense.
Yeah, we got N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell with Far Sector stuff, so... in here, so that'll be worth a read for. Yeah,
John Ridley's in there writing something, so that's not bad. And obviously, this and both the Valentine special are both out at the end of January, just so they're out in time for the respective days. I don't think we'll look at either of them. I think we've got a nice, set of 4 books or so that are all, more interesting. I think we tried to do these specials for the first year or so, like the show, and it became very clear just how little there was to really talk about with them.
And they're kind of a big investment time-wise as well.
For sure,
they ended up being so big. So,
Joker Harley Quinn Uncovered issue 1, Power Girl Uncovered issue 1, Birds of Prey Uncovered issue 1. I'll just run through those quickly. They're all just, covers. We have John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America issue 1. This is written by Cy Spurrier and art by Aaron Campbell.
Connor, calm down.
This is an 8-issue book. I assume it's Black Label just because it seems to make sense. It's got a nice cover. I'll give it that. Like, that's a cool cover.
Yeah. I understand what it's about, because it looks like it's a continuation of something. Or maybe that's just where it's starting out.
Yeah, maybe, because it's Constantine, but his face is like a skull, and then there's a lot of just different things in the background behind him. Looks spooky. Batman and Joker, the Deadly Duo, Unplugged issue 1. I assume this is just a black and white version
of the Mark Silvestri book. Yeah,
that's all it is. Looney Tunes 276, Mad Magazine 36, and that wraps up the single issues. And Newsarama, I actually like this. They've put a nice handy list at the bottom of what's out each week, including the stuff that was already solicited. So I won't run through it.
I'm going to screen cap this and
Matt,
keep it.
It'll literally just be on League of Comic Geeks, like, already.
Yes, I know, but I'm gonna start trying to prepare better.
Okay. You can start preparing better. I'm not mad at it. So yeah, okay. Is week 1 still quiet? It doesn't look quiet just from a glance here, hon.
I mean, Batman, Birds of Prey,
Neil
Zod book, Poison Ivy,
Shazam. It's still pretty quiet, actually. A lot of that is, it's kind of these fluffy miniseries that I'm not reading. So yeah, week 1 is still pretty quiet, which is why it's Patreon book week.
Makes sense. Yeah, so I started reading the Fire and Ice book, and having time in between them, it did not start off on a good foot. So I think I'm done with that book.
Oh yeah, well I really did. I hated the first issue, so I mean
the second one starts with a lot of the current speak and them talking and it was kind of annoying. Plus Ambush Bug, not a big fan of him, but yeah. So dropping off of that, having a Titans Beast World tie-in, I'm sure I'll try out. So, and I intend to get caught up on Blue Beetle because I think I'm 2 behind.
Okay.
But
good. Just to run through the collections in the solicits just quickly, we have Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country, The Glass House in hardcover. We've got Absolute Batman and Son by Grant Morrison. So, and I feel like Batman and Robin by Grant already got an Absolute, so this, and RIP probably did, so this probably just helps complete the run, except from Return of Bruce Wayne and the incorporated stuff at the end. So, neat. Night Terrors, Nocturnal Creatures, another batch of the tie-ins for Night Terrors.
Yep.
Do not recommend. Night Terrors, Terror Titans, same idea. Also don't recommend. We have Batman, Brave and the Bold, Volume 1, the winning card, and this is just the Tom King and Garrett story. Yep. That's all it is. It's 112 pages.
So this is going to be worth. This is going to be $17 that I'm happy to spend on, because it'll be all in one spot. I can read it when I want at the right pace.
Yeah, although sadly it is just softcover. I expected a deluxe or something for this. They'll probably will at some point down the line, but for now it's just paperback. So, got that. Green Arrow Volume 1, softcover. Unstoppable Doom Patrol, collection of the recent miniseries, softcover. Cyborg Homecoming, which is the current miniseries, and softcover. Then we have Action Comics Volume 1, Rise of Metallo, which is interesting they're calling that Volume 1. That's weird. But this is the post-war world part of Philip Kennedy Johnson's run. So they're calling that Volume 1 for whatever reason, but that's softcover. We got Superman, Lois and Clark, Doom Rising. That's the backups from Action, the Dan Jurgens stuff. So that's all of that in one neat book. Justice Society of America Volume 1, The New Golden Age. That's the first 5 issues of... Oh, sorry, the first 7 issues, plus the Golden Age one-shot.
Yep.
So that's actually quite meaty. That's over 200 pages. For the
232 to be exact.
Yeah, first JSA collection for that new John series, which is I actually think is very good. It's hurt by the delays, but I actually think the book's very enjoyable. We have Superboy Man of Tomorrow, collecting the recent miniseries. We have Red Hood Outlaws Volume 1, which is...
So webtoons.
Okay, I was going to say, what the hell is this? But I'm glad you knew that. Same with Batman Wayne Family Adventures Volume 3, I presume.
Yep.
Then we got Vixen NYC Volume 4. We got
Webtoon.
Bad Dream, A Dreamer Story, which is a original graphic novel, I assume, this one?
Yep.
Yeah.
From Nicole Maines, so that's cool.
Makes sense. The Little Endless Storybook box set.
Oh, that's cute.
And then we have Absolute Final Crisis reprint. So that's not already been a thing. Batman and Robin by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, book 1. So this is one of their thicker soft covers that do like 2 or 3 trades worth in one book. So I guess the plan with this is to do what does this go up to? The first 15 issues plus 2 relevant issues of the previous volume. So I imagine that means they're going to try and do this all in 3 books, give or take. Because this didn't go all the way up to 52, like the other new 52 books, did it? This was only, I don't know, like 30 issues? Or maybe it's only 2 books then.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how far it got up, because I remember reading it. I went back and caught up.
Because it didn't last to the end of the new 52, like before Rebirth. It stopped before then. So it may just be 2 books they're going to try and do that in.
Yeah.
Batman Beyond, the animated series Classics Compendium, collection of old Batman Beyond stories. Fair enough. Batman Incorporated Volume 2, Joker Incorporated, collected in recent stories. Batman Volume 1's Failsafe, softcover, so I got a hardcover already. World Finest Volume 3, Elementary, hardcover. Batman The Adventures Continue Season 3, collected. And then we have a new printing, in fact, we got an omnibus even, of Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes.
Hey!
So that's got a 1,300 plus page omnibus. Very interesting. So that's collecting Green Lantern 76 to 87 and 89 to 123, which is when Green Lantern just became a team-up book with the 2 of them. But then it also collects stories from a bunch of Brave and the Bold issues, some Flash issues, and just various other things where it became a thing again, sporadically. So seems very inclusive. Someone would have to actually check if this is everything that would fall under like the Dennis and Neil hard traveling hero stuff. But
I mean, I would think so, considering it's 1,300 pages.
You would assume so, but
yeah,
it's one of these things where sometimes you hear later, oh, they made a mistake and missed one issue somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Harley Quinn Volume 3 Verdict, Harley Quinn Volume 5 Who Killed Harley Quinn, so that's softcover and hardcover respectively. GLA Book 1, so this is the Grant Morrison stuff. Again, this is a 600-page softcover. That is huge for a softcover.
Don't drop it on your foot.
Like, that's going to, like, the spine's going to be cracking at that size.
Yeah.
I don't think I like that. That's too big for a softcover. But regardless, that's there. Justice League International Omnibus Volume 3, so they're really firing through that. Is that,
they are.
Is that the end of the run? Is this all of it?
Let's see.
I don't know how far we're up to.
I don't know either.
But
a third omnibus, think about that.
Like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Justice League, the New 52, Book 1, so they're doing thick trades. And this is 500 plus pages of the New 52 Justice League. It has issues 1 through 17, and then the Aquaman issues for the Aquaman crossover. So that's the first 3 trades, I think, combined. If I remember correctly. We got Superman Emperor Joker, the deluxe edition, which when I read this for the first time with Connor a few years ago, I hated it. So
yeah, it's one of these ones that gets put up, and like when I finally got around to reading it, I was like, why do people like this so much? Like, it's definitely of an era, you know?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I think the first issue was okay, and then it just kind of went off a cliff. Yeah. Superman, the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. I think Batman got a Silver Age Omnibus recently in Solicits, so this makes sense that they're doing Superman as well. It's really neat that they're making sure everything of these characters is going to be available in high quality. It's good stuff.
That cover's so iconic too, with him with Brainiac.
And it probably means that they'll all end up on their digital service as well, remastered at some point as well. So very good. This is Action Comics 241 to 256 and Superman 122 to 137. So it's doing both of the main series, alternating. Good stuff. Teen Titans Year 1, new printing. So, cool.
This is interesting.
Is it?
Yeah, well, so this is the Kingdom 25th anniversary, which was the follow-up to...
Oh, okay, the next... I thought you meant the Titans book. I was like, why?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No.
Okay. Yeah.
This one.
The Kingdom 25th anniversary deluxe edition, it's just Kingdom Come, I think. Is it just Kingdom Come?
No, it's the sequel to Kingdom Come.
Oh, okay.
And so this is interesting considering what Waid's doing right now in World's Finest.
I have never read the sequel to Kingdom Come. I've read Kingdom Come, but I've never read this. That's very interesting. Yeah, you're right. So this is like a bunch of different books by the looks of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a main series, it was like a bunch of one-shots and stuff.
Yep.
We have Wildcats Volume 2, Bloodshed for a Better Tomorrow. That's just a recent Wildcats book, and that is the end of the Solicits. So there you go. That was a lot of collections in this one.
Yeah, it was.
I thought we were going to fire through the collections part quickly like we usually do, and that was like, nope. Tears.
Think again.
4 times as many as you normally get. You stupid podcasters. Find DC. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Or I'll tell our loyal listeners that all your books suck and I'll not buy them.
I mean, Connor's been doing that for a while, and people still buy them. So.
Yeah, but he's Connor. They respect my opinion more. All right. Funny. My can's crushed, which means my beverage is finished, which I'm not happy about. But however, it does mean it's time for the comics themselves. So we're going to fire in. And Matt, you've been missing the last 2 weeks, so you're not aware that I've done this. I have worked out some legacy numbering for a few of these books that DC aren't telling us. Now,
good for you.
Superman obviously has told us. You know, it says in the cover 850, and you'll notice that under the 7 there's a little legacy 850 as well, so that's going to be a permanent thing there on the cover. They started doing it with Batman last issue too. I was really surprised by that. So, because they did it with Flash and Wonder Woman, which I kind of expected, because they had went back to original numbering and they were being renumbered, so I understand why they felt, oh, let's acknowledge the legacy numbering. I'm happy that they're doing it with Batman and Superman as well, because they really should be tracked.
Yeah.
So yeah, Superman issue 7, Legacy 850, Joshua Williamson writing with Gleb Melnikov, Dan Jurgens, and Edward Galmon on the art. So this is, it took me like a minute to, because this book starts with like Perry White doing his speech, and it turns out he's running for mayor, which I thought was a fun little bit. I liked all that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I was like, what happened last issue? What was the? And it wasn't until the dude with the chain showed up and went, oh yeah, the prison and super, it all came back. But it took me. It took me a minute.
Stuck. Yeah, I remembered like with the Perry stuff, it did throw me for a loop too. Because then I remember this was the whole thing. He was kind of the catalyst for everyone forgetting that Superman is Clark Kent, right? So Perry White's been gone. I think this is the first time we've seen him, right? Since that incident?
Certainly since this Superman run started, this is the first time I've seen him for sure.
Yeah, so I got a little bit distracted by that, and then, once the chain dude came up with his Doc Ock-like presence.
Yes. That's, you know what, so this is an oversized issue, right, for 850, which it isn't really, well, actually not, I'm thinking of action. So it is a bit oversized, but it does this weird thing where I think the first, few big scenes, right, which is Perry doing his speech, the attack with a chain, the super family showing up, and then Superman himself breaking out of the prison to come and help, and the fight that ensues. Loved all that stuff. I thought, oh damn, Williamson's hitting his stride, this feels like a Superman run, I'm digging the shit out of this, right? And even the start of the next bit, which was Lex wanting to get a hospital and Lois coming up to talk to him, loved the first half of that. Loved the first half of that scene. And then there was this weird turn where all of a sudden I felt like Williamson was just throwing tons of shit at the wall. Where I'm like, wait a minute, there's a daughter. Oh no, and then Brainiac's up to stuff. What are we doing here?
So in a vacuum, I don't mind him seeding stuff out. However, I wish we could have spaced out the Brainiac stuff and the fact that they seem to be doing in continuity Lena Luthor as the daughter.
As the daughter rather than the sister, yeah.
But there's also some ties to Brainiac with her, judging by the way she was drawn.
Yeah, there was it was almost like it was meant to be like a subtle, you see 3 circles on her head that are just kind of imprints, and I'm not sure if the other characters in the scene are meant to see that, or if that's just for us, the audience, to sort of notice and go, oh, connection to Brainiac. And then that was just to Brainiac. I think what I would have preferred, I think that I mean, the Lena thing's still a bit weird, but I would have liked them to end the story there, and then present the Brainiac stuff as a backup, even though it's the same writer, but because it's a different artist and the art shifts dramatically when you get to that Brainiac stuff. I actually think it would have been better to give me the credits page and then say, okay, and now for the special issue, here's your bonus backup, teasing a story that's coming next year, which is effectively what it is. But the fact that it goes straight into it like it's connected really felt weird and jaded.
Because again, because the putting the Brainiac dots on Lena is what is really what drives me nuts. because I don't feel that they're connected unless they're going to try to make her like, it's like not Lex's biological daughter, right? This was some offshoot of when he, with Brainiac technology or whatever.
I mean, I get thematically, I understand in the sense that the chain says that he was created by Lex, and he assumes that Superman is, and we know that Connor is actually a creation of Lex.
Right.
So the idea that after that conversation, you then introduce his quote unquote daughter, the implication that she's also a creation, but not like just a traditional biological creation of Lex,
right,
makes sense thematically. I understand it, and I think if the issue ended there, I wouldn't like. It would have been out of nowhere, but at least I'd have been like, okay, I can sort of like think back to like the themes that it's tying into and understand why it's a part of the story. But the transition to Brainiac just felt so stilted to me and just like abrupt and like, what are we doing now? And it's not even just that. It's like it's Brainiac, and he's got some crazy plan where he's bringing the Sarzians out of his bottled city, whatever city on Zarnian he took.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing too. So one of the cities that he has there. So let's talk about the Brainiac story first, since we're already here, right? So it's got Brainiac talking about how every time he's run up against Superman, right? Superman has ended up winning because of Superman creates a different kind of problem for Brainiac, because Brainiac's always about just the pursuit of knowledge, and he needs to do something different. And so then he talks about how he needs a bottled city from Earth, but he can't get one because Earth is so varied. He goes, unlike this planet,
too many metahumans is one of the big points he makes.
Too many metahumans, right? And makes it hard for him, right? So then he brings up Brawl, and how on Brawl they can, they all have magnetism.
Which is where he is. He's like in the orbit of Brawl, of getting ready to go down. Yeah.
Do you know, is Brawl familiar with you for any reason?
It sounds familiar, but no, I'm not. I can't tell you what it is.
So Brawl is the home world of Cosmic Boy of the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, I was never going to know that.
No, right? So this is that planet, right? This is where Cos, who's one of my favorite Legionnaires, top 3 for sure, right? And that's where he's from. So the fact that Brainiac's going there and he is dropping these Zarnians, right? Which, as far as we know, Lobo was the last one, right?
Yeah, not anymore. Which, by the way, me turning the page and see 3 Lobo-looking characters is not something that puts me in a good mood.
No, me neither. I'm not a big fan. One Lobo's too many in my eyes.
Yes.
No. And they all have different names too. They're very Spanish names, which is a bit confusing. But that's just me being looking at these words. But so is Lobo, right? So why not? Why not give them Spanish-esque names as well? But yeah, he's gonna drop them into Brawl, right? That's kind of like almost like a shock and awe.
But he'll be very surprised, though, despite all of his plans, that somehow Bart Gunn's going to win the whole thing.
Because it's the Brawl for All.
Yes, exactly. The brawl, that was the joke. Yes, the Brawl for All. And for those of you who did not watch wrestling in 1998, I'm sorry you did not get that reference, but it was Bart a good Gunn. Reference.
Yeah, Bart Gunn, the brother of Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn, in story.
Instantly, yeah, he's not Shoot Brothers.
No, but then he ended up getting the crap kicked out of him by Butterbean, and proved why the Brawl for All was such a terrible idea. Because you don't put your fake wrestlers in the ring with a real life boxer. You just don't.
No, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah.
One's a fighter, the other is a performer. There's a very big difference.
Yes.
Anyway. So yeah, this whole thing at the end just felt so like stilted to me, and it was just like, oh, now all of a sudden, like we're seeing these Zarnians down on the planet. There's fire everywhere behind them, and then on top of that, Brainiac's teasing that he's got some sort of like bride in a test tube that he's going to unleash into the world next year. And I feel like I don't mind them teasing the Brainiac story for next year as part of the special 850 issue. I just think it'd have been better served as a more separated story. And I still may not have been thrilled with some of the contents of it. I think I wasn't in love with the art. I think the art's just a little bit off in this section. I don't know if this is the Salmon artist, because I'm not familiar with their work.
It has to, I think so.
Yeah, because obviously I know Melnikov quite well from various books. And
it's not Jurgens, because we would know Jurgens, because they have Jurgens listed as a penciler here, and I don't know why.
Is it possible he did? I don't even know.
Huh.
No, I think see. There's at least a page when I think he's doing the flashback stuff because there's a panel of Superman flying that looks Jurgens to me.
Okay.
It's when Lex is talking about like when he tried to be a hero and then Superman showed up, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so my big thing. So I loved like Lois showing up to be like, okay, Lex, when are you going to betray Superman? We all know you're going to, and then Lex admitting, look, every time I try to beat him, I've tried so many different things. And the one thing that I've kind of come to the conclusion of is that the problem wasn't him, it was me. I was trying to do the wrong thing the whole time, so I'm genuinely, at least he's saying that right now, that he wants to help Superman. And that's all fine. I like all that. I love this. I love the idea of Lois knowing that Clark, despite the fact that it's Lex, that at a certain point Clark is just too good for his own good, effectively, that Lois is going to step in almost like a mother figure and be like, you better not like pick on my husband. Like I know you're up to something, Lex.
I know you're up to it. Now, does Lex remember that he's Superman?
Yes, I think he does. He clearly knows. Yeah,
because that was his plan, right?
Yeah, that was him that did that. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So because then when he talks about how he, when he came there, and he remembered the stuff from Smallville and stuff, I got a little bit confused. I was just not remembering if Lex knew or not.
I forgot about this when we were talking about earlier because now I'm looking at the pages. I think the reason why the daughter stuff was so weird and abrupt to me, or felt weird, is because we just did the mum. Like, Lexi's mum shows up out of nowhere. And that was the one that made me go, wait, what? Like, in continuity right now, is she supposed to be alive? Is she not? I mean, obviously, Lois reacts like, hey, you're meant to be dead. And she's like, don't believe everything you did in the newspapers, Miss Lane.
Which I do kind of like, too. Like, there's a Luthor that's, behind the scenes. She doesn't have to be up in the front.
I think it was too much to reveal her and then the daughter in the same scene. Because when it got to the daughter, who was maybe a bit more interesting, because like it was said earlier, she ties into the themes of Lexi's creations. That part of it makes sense to me, but because it comes right after, oh, by the way, the mum's still alive and she's going to be like a recurring element now, I was like, it felt like too much. And this is where I was really enjoying this issue, and it just kind of hit this, and it just sort of tumbled over.
Here's the thing with the mom too. This is the first time I can remember seeing Lex's mom.
Yeah, she's never really been a big factor before, has she? Like,
we've done stuff with his dad, right? Even under Snyder.
We hear about her a lot, when he talks to his dad about her, or about his childhood or whatever. But yeah, you never really. She's always talked about like this absent figure as opposed to.
So then when he's like, "Oh, is she here?" Right? I really thought they were setting up Lena as the sister, like doing the Supergirl kind of thing. Because that had been established before. In fact, one of my favorite, it's a Manipul story from Superboy that they introduced his niece and Lena, and that Lena's dying of cancer, and Lex could have figured out how to beat cancer if he had wanted to. It really sold the idea like he is just this pompous, narcissistic guy, but there was nothing in it for him. Right, so Superboy and him have words, and he eventually does do it. And we got introduced to his niece, very similar in the way that she's brought up here. She's living in Smallville and with all this other stuff with the aunt and stuff, or with her aunt. I can't remember. Anyways, long story short, this all felt very familiar. So to do the mom and then to do the daughter at the same time, I was just like, oh man, okay. We're really rushing this along, aren't we? We're not pacing out these reveals very well.
Yeah, it's that's the problem I have with Williamson. Just when he's getting into a groove where I'm starting to like the story and the things that he set up, he then introduces or does too many things immediately and kind of ruins it by like trying to just shift ahead to something else. That's
all the stuff the Super Family trying to bring in the Chained, I really liked.
Yeah,
that was
I like
really well paced, and when he looks at Connor and is just he's like, oh, you're like me. I like that reveal that this is possibly one of Luthor's experiments gone awry.
I think the daughter stuff, I think in the long run could still be good, even if the reveal here is a bit weird. It just, and it's a fine enough cliffhanger for the story, but then we go to the Brainiac stuff, and I just felt like, okay, you're throwing too many new things at me, when I was enjoying the story you were telling, and now you're so quick to try and rush me away from it, and that's a problem I've had with Williamson, many times at this point. So, really frustrating in that sense. I think Jurgens does a lot of the art of the Lex stuff, actually.
The Lex stuff, yeah, it makes sense now. I don't have it in front of me, but I do remember it's not Melnikov.
Yeah, the mum's looking quite Jurgens as well when she shows up. Yeah, I think it switches to Jurgens when it goes to... I think Melnikov does all the stuff in the first chunk with Perry and all the big fight with the super family and that.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway, so... Yeah, not bad. I also appreciated how big the action felt, when Change just starts trying to collapse buildings and the super family has to rush in and try and evacuate them before they crumble. It felt like a big fight. It felt like, this is a big presence that they're struggling to contain.
Yeah.
The scale of it was really good in the art. You get a sense of just how big this is.
That's what I was going to say. The sense of scale's there when Perry looks up and sees this floating figure, right? And he can't quite tell what it is up against this big empty space. And so, yeah, it kind of gave the scale of Metropolis and how big this was. So then we start throwing the buildings around, with the chains and whatnot. It is really there. And I also like, too, Superman trying to get out, right? And it could be really cheesy if him to go, I have more than one power, right? But I do kind of like that.
Well, set up the context for that. You just sort of said the ending without it.
Gotcha. So at the end of the last issue, right, he helped the Chain get out of his prison, but by doing that, he put himself in there, and it ends up being kind of like the saw trap to the more you push against the prison, the chains and stuff, the more it pulls you down, right?
And it seems to adapt as well, because he's using his strength at first, and she's saying, well, it's getting stronger because it counteracts your power,
right?
And then he tries to vibrate like the Flash, and she's like, it'll just start to speed up to match your speed. And then that's when he says, yeah, but I've got more than one power. The implication being that he's going to vibrate whilst firing it with heat vision and just basically overload it so it can't keep up.
Right, and confuse it and stuff. And I like that concept, right? Because this was something that Luthor made early just to contain this one person. And because how that ended, I was like, well, how's Superman going to get out of this, right? Thinking like a typical Luthor device, it would just adapt to him. But just the idea of Superman using that, I have multiple things to do, and we don't know how he gets out because we don't see. He just ends up showing up to help the Superman family.
I think you get the gist of it. You understand what he's doing,
right?
So yeah, so the fight's a lot of fun. He feels like a big threat, Chains, and obviously that ends with Farm and Graft showing up and saying, "Hey, we're the ones who orchestrated your escape. Come join us because we hate Lex Luthor too."
Yeah.
So that
I kind of hate this Lex Luthor Revenge Squad, but I love the name. I hate the idea of Lex being this hero, this forgotten hero of Metropolis.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that either. I hated
that.
Those flashbacks where he's got the purple and green suit, I hated those.
And I'm hoping this is one of his things that gone awry. This is what Lex does, right? Lex gets so over his own skis. He drinks his own Kool-Aid so much that he didn't realize that this team of villains he had assembled, right, that was going to make Metropolis better. So I'm hoping there's an actual different version of events that we see. That's not just him trying to be a hero,
I just the idea of him having a purple and green suit at all before Superman show, because the whole point, the reason why he makes a suit like that is because he wants to be big and colorful like Superman. Like he's emasculated by Superman's existence. So it just feels weird. It's like the Joker existing before Batman does. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Same colors too. I never really thought about that. The green and purple, also Jokers.
Yeah, also, I've been playing Spider-Man 2, and when Norman Osborn shows up, he's wearing a purple and green outfit, and I'm like, and when I say that, he's not Goblin, he's just wearing a suit, but it's like a green shirt and a dark purple, I'm like, what is it about green that's the villain color in comics, Yeah.
It must have just been because green was flashy, Yeah.
I think it's just because a lot of heroes are red or blue, so it just green was the next strong color that they can use as the opposite.
Right.
Anyway,
please tell me he lets you know that he's a bit of a scientist himself.
He's not said that line, no. They've not went for the cheap pop. There has been some little references to things here or there. I'm sure there'll be some more for because the first game had the train moment where you try and stop it and it doesn't work, but he's like, that worked last time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So jokes are had.
Well, because I remember Norman's not in this about his presence in the first game, right?
He's in the
Osborn Tower.
He's in the mid-credit scene because he comes in and looks at Harry, who's in like a tank, and that's set up for some of the stuff from 2. Okay. So I'm only a few hours in, so I don't have all the answers yet.
No, I just remember Osborn Tower, and I kept expecting him to show up at a certain point, and
no, he's there. Osborn's there, Harry's there. I've not even got to Venom yet, but Kraven the Hunter's shown up though.
Oh, nice.
So
are those like the Taskmaster, where he keeps popping up, or is it just a one-time kind of deal?
Oh no, Kraven the Hunter is like he's actually the main villain at the start of the game before Venom.
Shoot.
He's coming to the city because he wants to hunt all the villains in Spider-Man. Because he's sick. He's bored of the jungle. All the animals in the jungle are too boring now. So he's the main villain force right now, who's popped up in a few big story cutscenes. Okay. So
very cool. It's a shame I don't have a next-gen system that I can play this on. So I'm just gonna have to live vicariously through my friends that are all playing it right now.
When you eventually do, Matt, you'll be wowed at one, how quick it loads, and two, how fast you can, like, because you get the web wings in the second game, and you can like just you can slingshot yourself like halfway across the city in one moment.
Wow,
it's super impressive.
Very cool.
It feels like the future.
it's the first game, like, cause I thought I'd feel like this with the next Jedi Fallen Order with Survivor, and I just haven't. The buzz just wasn't there. But I really love that first Spider-Man game.
Jedi, what was the new one called? Jedi Survivor, yeah. People all said it was an improvement on the first one, so people seem to like it.
Yeah, but like I didn't hear the same kind of buzz from my friends, like on a Star Wars level. Like, there was stuff that happened in the first game that I was made aware of from people that can't keep spoilers to themselves. Close friends, right? So none of that was Survivor. So
it got enough buzz that I added the first one to my wish list to wait for a sale to play it. And I don't really even like Star Wars that much.
It is a lot of fun. And especially once you level up enough and you go back, because I can build the lightsaber that I built at Disneyland, right, in the game. So I went back to get all my pieces. And when you go back through the early levels with your full Jedi powers, it's a completely different game. It's a lot of fun.
Do you know what's out in a few weeks on the new consoles?
What's that?
A RoboCop game, and there was a demo for it on PC a little while ago, and it's pretty good from what I played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So are you just going and settling crime, or what's the deal?
I mean, it's a first-person shooter, firstly, but there is little side quest things you can go do as well.
Gotcha. I didn't realize that's a first person.
But you can pick up dudes and throw them out a window and stuff.
Yeah. So. See, that's the stuff you can do in Fallen Order once you have your full powers. Like, you just push stormtroopers out of windows. It's the best.
Yeah, and their heads pop when you get a headshot. There's.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What? Is Ed 209 in there?
It wasn't in the demo, but I'm sure he's in the full game.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh my god.
Well, they got
down the stairs.
They got Peter Weller back to voice RoboCop and Nancy Allen to voice Lois.
Oh my god. Sting has to be an unlockable thing, right?
He should be. He probably isn't, but he should be.
Yeah. So, anyways, Superman now.
Yes. We got to say,
purple and green.
It's been an insane year for video games. There's been a lot of good stuff that's came out that's worth playing. So yeah. The hype is real. But Superman issue 7. I guess we're at the point where we're rating it anyway.
Yeah.
The art is. I think the art, like, every time the artist changes, it gets a little bit worse, like throughout the issue.
That said, I still mostly liked what I read and what I saw, and even I didn't get that annoyed at the Zardians, because I'm sure, it's the Williamson. Sometimes he doesn't know when too much is enough. It's like, what's worse than one Zardian? 3 Zardians. And it's like, brother, enough. Come on, bro. It's like the Speed Forces again.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. It's worse than than the Still Force if we added a Sage and a Strength Force, and then we'll never talk about them again.
Do you know what? If you'd asked me before there, like, what were they all called? I'd have been like, Still Force, Strength Force, and I would never have got Sage. I would never have thought of it.
Pete, this is what happens when you're blessed with my continuity brain, is you remember stuff you'd rather not.
Oh, well. All right, what are you rating Superman 7, man?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I'm going to be a little generous and give it an 8. And I say that because I do think the weird drop-off in the end did kind of really annoy me. But I really like the Perry speech at the start about Superman inspiring him, and that's why he wants to do more and become mayor. I like the fight. I like all the stuff with chains. And I can see the potential with the Lena stuff, even if it did feel a bit weird after the reveal of the mum also being alive. So 8 out of 10 overall, but the Brainiac stuff did not excite me that much. I'll say that. So hopefully it's good in the end, though. All right, Nightwing 107, legacy number 294. So we'll see if they
now.
celebrate 300 or if they're not. There is a little bit of wiggle room here because there's a 4-issue miniseries before the ongoing started. So depending if they count that, it might shift it by 4 issues, but that's not much. It's not far off. It is off. But anyway, Tom Taylor writing, of course, Stephen Byrne on the art. So we got Pirate Nightwing this issue. And once again, we start with a flashback to the time of Rick Grayson, which he's playing with fire. That Tom, he's playing with fire. I
don't hate it, though, because the way that Taylor's doing it is he's treating it as like this lost era. And so I can feel like I didn't have to experience this lost era to feel, like, oh, he had this kind of relationship with the bartender, and that's all we need to know from it. We don't need to talk about the rest of it.
Although, as I was reading these first few pages, and it's basically just Rick talking to B about the box and not wanting to open it because it's not really for him, it's for Dick Grayson and I'm Rick, kind of stuff. With every bubble he got to speak, I just thought he was more and more dull. Like, this is such a dull guy. Rick Grayson is dull as shit.
Rick Grayson sucked.
And
is this where he talks about Schrodinger's cat too, where he's like,
yes. She's like, what if there's something living inside? If there's a cat in there, it's dead.
Yeah. Like, man, you suck, dude. I love Dick Grayson. Rick. Yes.
And I feel like Taylor's intentionally making him suck because it's like, no, see, like this was bad. Now we have proper Dick. So yeah, obviously we had the cliffhanger where he's on the boat with B, who's calling herself Captain Blood. Turns out the guy that died was also a Captain Blood. That was her adoptive father. So she's now taking the reins. And something that comes up a bit later in the issue is that a lot of the crew will challenge that because she's adopted, they don't see her as a rightful heir to the ship. But that's something they're going to have to deal with. A lot of this, though, and probably my favorite part of this, is the idea that Barbara's listening to everything that's being said, and I really appreciated that because it would be so easy to have Barbara get jealous because Dick's technically hiding it with an X. But she never does. It's handled very deftly. She's supportive. She's concerned for him. She's worried about where this is going. She even cracks a joke when he puts on the outfit, and she's like, "Yeah, bring that back with you. I want Pirate Dick."
So the thing that I love about this is that I don't know if maybe it's just the generation of the heroes because we've grown with them for so much, right? But Babs and Dick feel like an actual proper relationship. In the way that Wally and Linda do. Like, they feel like a real married couple with kids, and Adams has done a really good job at that, and all the other writers that have come before have really done a good job with Wally and Linda. And so I feel the same here, at least with Taylor, that they feel secure in their relationship. And I just buy it. I didn't expect her to get jealous. I expected her to have her little quips about things, and it's just, it's one of those relationships in comics that just feels real. And we don't get too many of those anymore.
Yeah. The big thing in the issue, though, is that Dick actually freezes. Like, so someone goes overboard and he goes to jump in to save them and he gets to the railing and he just freezes and he can't move. So that's a big thing we're going to be dealing with going forward in this arc, presumably, is what's giving him the jitters, basically. Like, what's causing this. So, very curious. Maybe it's a little bit of Rick coming back. It's like Rick being a dweeb, effectively. I don't know. It's probably more than that. But towards the end of the issue, B insists, because she's like, hey, you're the only one seeing me through those eyes. And he's like, nope, I'm going to be honest. Someone else is watching through my visor. And she's like, look, this has to be confidential. No one can know where we're going. And Dick actually says no, initially. Right. But yeah, well, no, it says no, whatever it, yeah, anyway, but he agrees.
He disagrees because he knows, like, this is his tracker, right?
Yeah.
But in order to gain her trust more, he goes along with it.
So he takes off his mask, and although B throws it in the water, I was like, oh, yeah, they'll have to ruin it. Put it in a box somewhere.
It is more symbolic that he's throwing that away. The idea, too, where she says, why are you dressed like that? And he goes, that's what was in there. She goes, or that's all that was in the dresser. She goes, yeah, there was also a cabinet. You could have looked in there for real clothes. That was very funny.
Yeah.
Like, he just accepted the pirate clothes first chance he got.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And then her throwing the mask away is actually the end of the issue. It's basically, this issue is kind of interesting because none of us like his time as Rick Grayson, and the narration at the end of this is basically Dick saying, look, this was Rick's girlfriend, not really mine, but I feel like I have to sort of like, do this for her and be the good guy, and because, I mean, we didn't read the Rick Grayson stories, but it mentions in here that he kind of deliberately dumped her at one point.
Yeah.
And he wants to kind of, make good on that. So, and he also wants his box, which,
whatever's in there.
Whatever's in there. So,
because, whatever was in there, too, the quartermaster felt the need to keep it safe by moving the whole thing, right? Yeah. From Zuko and Heartless.
The thing I was getting at, though, is that what's interesting about this is that it's kind of this burden from this time of Rick Grayson, which he's not enjoying having to do this, but he kind of sees it as this burden that he has to put up with. And I think it's kind of interesting that I think we, the audience, feel the same way. We would rather probably not just deal with any of his Rick Grayson stuff, but they're giving us... Taylor's created this compelling mystery of what was in this box during this time as Rick Grayson, that it's like, okay, we have to go through and deal with some of these elements from his past that we don't really want to deal with. But we have to. It's like the burden in the same way it's a burden for the character. And I think that's for the character, it's more the burden of this relationship and this woman that obviously feelings he hurt and all that. But
and it's a period that he probably wants to forget, which, I mean, amnesia and whatnot, but like it's something that Dick probably doesn't want to have to deal with. Like just that whole era of him getting shot and, not having any contact with the Bat family, and it's this era, but this is making him having to face that like it did happen. It's this trauma that he has to face and not just ignore. So it works on all those levels.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think to wrap up here, I would say that this is probably my least favorite story in the book since the start of the run. Which is not to say it's bad. Like, for everything I've said, there's a lot of thought went into this, and I understand what it's doing, and I enjoy the Babs and Dick stuff, and the fact that they're not going to be in communication for the next issue or whatever is going to be a big deal. I appreciate all the things that it's doing, but fundamentally, Dick going on a pirate adventure was never going to appeal to me as much as the regular stuff that goes on in the run. So this was probably always going to be a weaker part for me overall, but it's still a solid issue at what it's doing.
Yeah, well, and Taylor's done a good job for me at making the crew untrustworthy, right? So not only the reason that Dick froze is that a guy got thrown into the water, one of the other crew members, right? Someone bumped into there.
Well, yeah, we never even explained. So they're getting after B's brother, who's a natural brother, or sorry, a natural son to the previous captain. So some of the crew are loyal to him. So they've got a mole, or more than one mole perhaps, for the brother, and their brother's also a piece of shit. He's a criminal who deserves to be locked up, and they're going after him to capture him. Yeah, because
Babs looks him up and says, human trafficking, drug smuggling, all this other bad stuff, right? So he's a bad dude. But it definitely, Taylor making us also, Dick's got to watch his back, B has to watch her back. So they're basically going to have to depend on one another as they go through this adventure. And I like that. And also her being Captain Blood and the whole idea of Bloodhaven, and that's how the city got its name, right? Because we knew it was a port town, with all of that stuff, and that they're the original reason for the name, is that it was like this haven for pirates, which goes in with the history of that city very, very well. So I like that Taylor's
it's
playing with that
developing the
as well.
mythology of Bloodhaven a little bit, which is nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and the idea that she maybe can't trust any of your crew right now because she doesn't know who's on her side and who's on her brother's side. Like, that's all fine, and she says the only way to dissuade them is to actually put him properly locked up behind bars. So that's what the goal is. The goal is to find him, and in return she'll take him to where the ship is now with the box, and he'll get the box. That's the idea going forward. It's all solid stuff. I just don't like the overall gist of it as much as the regular stuff we're doing in the city with Heartless and all the other things that Nightwing's been doing. So for me, I'll be rating it a little lower than I normally do, but not by much. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm giving this an 8. I thought it was really... I liked it a lot, especially the art, a lot of the coloring and all that stuff too. Really, really nice. But the story itself, not that I dislike it as much as you do, but yeah, compared to Heartless and all of the kids in the city, I prefer that. So him going off on a ship. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving it a 7.5. It's not like super harsh. It's just like it's just never going to appeal to me quite as much as the other stuff. And part of that is also just having to put up with Rick Grayson scenes, even though I think he's using them kind of well. I also just don't want to see Rick Grayson ever. So but I appreciate what he's going for, and I still think it's a pretty solid issue. So that is Nightwing. Catwoman issue 58. Tini Hubbard writing, Nico Leon on the art. Matt didn't quite finish this. He was rushing it in and didn't quite get it all done. I did read it, unfortunately.
So like I've been gone the last couple to talk about. I do like the reveal that Marquise is Scandal Savage. It's a character I have a lot of affection for. From what?
I did not enjoy that reveal. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, so no, I like that just because the idea that she's around means that we're a little bit closer to maybe getting a Sinister Six book back.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well,
Sinister Six. Secret Six.
Like the entire concept of this book just being jettisoned aside because now Vandal Savage has secretly built his own League of Assassins is just I like whatever. And Scandal Savage is such a stupid name. It's always been a stupid name. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I do like the character just because she's her father's daughter, but in just a different way, right? And that was the whole Secret Six, her learning about love and to trust other people, something that her dad didn't do. However, the idea of him assembling these things is as far as I got. Him assembling these different things that have the meteorite fragment in it, and it's going to be able to give people immortality. I'm like, wait, so this is where this Batman Catwoman book is going?
Yeah, the whole concept of the Gotham War seems to be like completely. It's almost gone. It's like it's not forgotten because Batman and Catwoman are still talking because they've barely realized that Vandal Savage and what he's up to yet. Well, I mean Catwoman kind of knows by the end of this issue, but it just kind of feels like we're just doing a Vandal Savage story now. This isn't the whole idea of them fighting each other because they've got these opposing views of what to do in Gotham, which on paper could be a great story. Was not that good in how it was executed, and now it's just been completely left by the side because we've got other things to do now. We've got a villain to deal with. So, this has just been painfully generic, ultimately, which is a shame. There's like a kind of a sweet moment with Batman and Catwoman at the start where he's kind of like vulnerable and sort of cries in her arms, but then sort of toughens up again, and that's okay.
I want her to just pet his head and stop being a dumb boy. You know what I mean? Like, just... You're the reason that we're fighting, bro. Like, just stop.
Yeah, but obviously everyone acting so out of character, and what Bruce did to Jason is so monstrous. And I know it's meant to be like Zur-En-Ar's like kind of influencing him, and he doesn't realize it. But it feels. I don't like any of it.
No.
There's a weird moment here actually at the end of this rooftop scene where there's explosions across the city in the background before the rooftop they're on explodes. Well, I thought the visual was cool. I thought it was a bit weird that neither of them seemed to notice that there's these other explosions before, like, because when their building explodes and they fall, obviously they notice that because they're like trying to say, but they're looking out in the direction of these explosions across. It's like I don't care how far away it is, if it's visible, you're going to notice an explosion happening.
Yeah, I just thought they're so wrapped up in each other's eyes they didn't notice the city exploding. It's like that's not as romantic as you think it is, T.D. Howard. It kind of means they're bad at their jobs.
Yeah. And then we think Catwoman's talking to Vandal and Scandal. Stupid name. Let's just pick something that rhymes with Vandal. Bunch of hacks.
Scandal Savage.
But it turns out to be Lady Clayface, who's just getting intel. So she gets decapitated. And I
got worried that was Selena and we're going to use the immortality thing to bring her back.
No, I was expecting an instant... You know, reveal of some... And, right. So what's funny is I wanted to complain about the art here, actually, because obviously... Nico's actually a very good artist, right? One of the best things about this book is the art is pretty solid. But there is something here I wanted to critique. And in a weird way, the fact that it turns out to be Lady Clayface could technically absolve it, but I don't think it's meant to be Lady Clayface using their powers. I think it is just dodgy art. And that is... So, right before the decapitation, there's a page where the middle panel is like Vandal's got his sword, and then Catwoman's sort of in a like fighting pose, right? If you look at Catwoman's legs, the way she's got her legs stretched out in this like sort of karate pose, right? But her high platform, high-heeled shoe is still flat on the ground is physically impossible. Like, she would have to angle that back onto the heel. and it makes it look like her ankle is doing some weird like bend that is just physically impossible. Technically, because it's
You're absolutely correct.
now I know it's
How does that work?
Lady Clayface technically could pull this pose off, but I don't think it's meant to be doing that. I think it's just bad art. What do you stare at that?
I'm staring at the thing how that would work, because the way the ankle is up on the point, right? When you wear heels like that.
If anything, it looks like she's taking her foot out of the shoe, and it's just kind of in her like leg sleeve.
In the cuff of it, yeah.
Yeah, it looks weird. Yeah, it's a dodgy proportion in one panel. This is not me shitting on the artist as a whole. Like, I think the art's pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turns out to be Lady Clayface, who obviously is going to go and tell. So there was a tease in one of the issues before that a bunch of the villains were meeting each other in a meeting. Vandal goes to this meeting. Turns out Firefly's the one who blew up some of the buildings, and Vandal's like, hey, you all can be my lieutenants, and I'll give you immortality, blah, 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 blah. But then at the end of it, he sort of says to himself, oh, they think they're my generals, but they're not. Like, I don't think he's going to give immortality out to anyone. This is all for himself, and we all know it. So that's that. Jason, who's all scared right now because of the stuff that Batman gave him, he still tries to be a hero because there's a girl trapped in one of the burning buildings from the fires. And the scene kind of ends with him just picking up the girl and saying that he's scared too, which I actually thought was a good little moment because it kind of felt like he was just sort of getting himself through it. But then when we come back to this in a couple of minutes, with the other characters finding him, it turns out he got so scared that he's just trapped in there with her now, and he has to be rescued by Catwoman or someone later.
What was that?
Was that a train? Is that a dog? Well, Matt's got ghosts in his house, apparently.
A ghost and a werewolf, clearly. Good lord.
The dog was at the groomers. Apparently they're having a...
It's a whole thing. It's fine. I think we're okay. Now, if we hear it again, my dog's upstairs now with me. We'll see. But yeah, that gave me quite a fright.
It was a weird noise.
That's not typical because she'll she has a high pitched howl that we can get her going with. And we call it her singing. That's not what that was. So hey, get over here. So, all right. Back to Catwoman.
Yeah, it's Catwoman.
Jason's scared.
Jason's scared.
He had to get saved. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene before that where Catwoman steals the dagger that Vandal's after that's got some of the meteor in it. She ends up fighting Scandal a bit on a rooftop. As Scandal's like, "No, this is good for us," and Catwoman's like, "No, I trained all these people to be self-sufficient, not be lackeys to get immortality from your dad." Blah 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 blah. She goes to Bruce and they talk about Jason and they go looking for him, and they find him in the fiery building. The art here is quite good in the fiery building, to be fair, at least. And they save him. And Selina points out that, yeah, you took away his ability to do anything, but you still raised him to be a hero. He's still going to see people in trouble and want to help them, and that's why he's put himself in danger here. So you see how you've messed him up, kind of thing. And again, separately from the plot of this book, right, separately from the whole Gotham War stuff, if you want to tell me a story where Zur-En-Arrh forces Batman to do something this horrific to Jason, the idea that his relationship with Catwoman is what brings him back from the brink, where Catwoman's able to get through to him because they love each other, I actually think that sounds like a fine idea on paper. It's just all these things kind of smashed together. I feel like none of them are being executed in a way that is satisfying to me. Anywho, so yeah, the issue ends with all those villains that Vandal was trying to get to work for him. They all show up as a team at the end. So we got Two-Face, we got Professor Peg, we got Mad Hatter, we got Scarface, who's dressed as Batman and Robin with his ventriloquist. We got Firefly.
I kind of hate this at the end right now.
Sure.
Yeah, just because now that means they know that Batman's Bruce Wayne? Or did Vandal just give him all of this Batman stuff?
I don't think they know where he got it from. Because earlier on he said, hey, I've recently come into a collection of some of the best tech in Gotham. And he's given them all various Batman things. Who is that wearing? That's Black Mask wearing the Batman armor, right? Yeah. He's got the chest plate on.
Black Mask, Pig, Hatter, Ventriloquist, and Scarface. Although it would have been funnier if ventriloquist was Batman, and or if Scarface was Batman and
I was going to say
ventriloquist
ventriloquist is Batman.
Yeah.
I was going to say
yeah, the other way around. But then I always hate when they give us Killer Moth and Firefly.
They're a pair.
Are they always a pair?
Well, not always, but I feel like
a
lot of stories pair them together because they're similar. Yeah. That you just they're fine, they're together.
And all the stuff with Two-Face too just kind of undoes all the things that we did in Detective with him about learning.
That's just one of those things where they're not syncing up together. You just have to take them separately.
No, I know. I don't like seeing them there. That's all. Because I buy all these other jamokes.
I mean, the Scarface outfit thing, I think that's just down to it's more realistic that the Robin outfit fits him, and then the Batman cowl. It's the old '60s Batman cowl that fits the ventriloquist. Ventriloquist, if I can speak properly.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned. It says to be continued in Red Hood 2. I'm hoping that's not correct and it is just the final one shot, because that's all I'm going to read. I'm not reading the Red Hood book.
So I tried to read that one and it wasn't.
Well, Connor was forced to for Patreon, so someone talked about it.
You guys, that's why I don't do this, because you guys can't be trusted. So no, in that one, did he talk about it here already?
Yeah, he talked about it last.
It's just basically a flashback on how Jason ended up working with her. So if they make it the next part, it doesn't go with the rest of.
That'll be annoying if it's the next part, but I could see it being the next part because I could see it being the aftermath of this, where he was found scared, annoyingly. But Connor will just have to tell us about it next time he's on, which admittedly might be after the whole event's done. It may be too late, but tough tits. He has to talk about it anyway. So mixed bag. It's kind of just like the next part of the event, and I think there's some good concepts in the event, and I've been saying that since the very start of it, but they don't really mesh together, and I wish the execution was better on all of them, and separately in different stories probably as well at that. So I don't know. I mean, the art is mostly fine, even good, really good in some scenes depending on what's going on. The fire stuff looks great, but then there's also that dodgy body of Catwoman in that one page that really made me laugh. So what are you rating Batman, or sorry, well, you never finished it, so I suppose you
I never finished it, so I was like, don't let me do that.
Okay, I'll just give it like a 5.5, I think, for me. I think it's just sort of in the average kind of range. I would say, it's not horrendously bad by any means, but I'll be glad that when we're back to just having to read Batman and not another book that ties into it.
True.
I'll be happy for that. Thank you very much. So there you go. That'll take us on to Green Lantern War Journal issue 2. Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Montos on the art. So loved issue 1 of this. Really liked it. Was excited for issue 2, and I think this was a great follow-up. It took the story forward. Took forward both the horror villain side of things with the spread of the demons, or the zombies, whatever you want to call them.
The Revenant Dead.
The Revenant Dead. Thank you.
With the Revenant Queen. I'm always going to get those confused, because I was calling her the Radiant Queen, talking about this with someone at the shop. So
is it the Radiant? So it's the Radiant Dead and the Revenant Queen.
Yes.
Okay.
Got that. Right.
So it's actually that Green Lantern that John beat back last issue, who goes looking for this crashed space station. And they're just he's a total chump. He's talking about how much he hates John Stewart, how much he's going to make him look bad. It does that classic horror story thing of making someone a total asshole so that you enjoy when they're the victim of the monster in a minute.
Yep. It's a Friday the 13th thing, right? Where the big dumb jock is a big dumb jock. You're like, oh, I can't wait for an axe to be introduced to him.
Absolutely.
And here we go.
So they investigate the crashed ship, and the Revenant Queen infects these 3 Green Lanterns and turns them into the undead. So that's your big tease at the start, and then we go to the John Stewart stuff, and I'm loving how much the John Stewart stuff in this book so far has been very personal. It's been very much him looking after his mother, and in this issue he brings his mother to his job interview, which is not a normal thing to do, but he does it because it's an impressive place to go. It's Steelworks.
Steelworks.
He's been called in by Steel, and Jay Nakamura, who's apparently working at Steelworks now as well.
I love the sense of continuity this has across DC. Just the fact that Steelworks is a thing. It's a place to go to work, right?
Do you know what I like about it, Matt? Is I think Steelworks doesn't surprise me because Johnson's been doing action and Steelworks has been in that. The fact that Jay's was actually from Taylor's Superman book, and he's still including him, I think that feels really good. That feels nice.
And the fact that he feels like, even though he's he was kind of a lowest type where he was working at the Truth and this other. However, now that part of his story's done, it makes sense he would go work for John Henry Irons. I almost said Stewart there, but no. They're both named John. That's kind of annoying a little bit here. But yeah, he goes to work for Steel there. And he's just there. They don't make a big deal about it, But it's just nice that he's in there, and it makes John Stewart feel like he is part of the DC universe. Yeah, he's not off on his own because for the last couple years, I felt like John was in deep space doing his, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so this issue is like, it's Steel showing him around, and it gives him an example of this like fancy new train they're working on that will be efficient, and John immediately jumps in and sort of makes some suggestions to make it more efficient, and it's like, hey, see, this is why you should work here, and he's basically offered the job. And it's on the way home on the train going outside of Metropolis, which, by the way, I think from an art perspective, this is my favorite page of the whole book. Because between the first panel, which is the train with the city in the background, and you can see the Daily Planet building and the Supercarp building, and then like on the train, there's this great panel at the bottom where it's like from outside the window looking in at John and his mum, but it's the reflection of the city as they're saying how much because she used to live in Metropolis before Superman, and it wasn't that nice, but now it's much better. It's like a really dreamlike panel because of the perspective, and I just think it looks really good. I think that whole page just really paints this great picture.
Well, and I like the idea too of the idea that she was big in the civil rights movement because Steele mentions that, and so it kind of course this is who John Stewart was going to become, because look who his mom was. So it plays with that sense of legacy, but not in the superhero way.
Which makes it more sad as well that she's like forgetting things. It's like it's like, hey, she was this great person who did all these things, and now she's struggling and doesn't realize she's struggling even. So it adds a bit more sting to that as well. I don't know, I was getting such like a Tomorrowland vibe as they were leaving the city. It just felt so futuristic. It felt like the city of tomorrow in a way that they always say that, but I wouldn't say the art actually makes me feel like that usually. But
no, and just you got when the train's pulling away, right, and you got the Supercorp building with the Daily Planet too, like it just gives it this sense of like a concrete and glass jungle kind of vibe, so,
but not in a gloomy way like Gotham is this like urban hellhole. But they talk about taking the job, and John's like, hey, I'll take the job if you're cool with moving to Metropolis, and she's like, no, I don't need to hold you back, I don't need to move, but you can just come here on your own. And they're kind of, she's like, no, you're going to go do this because this is a good, bright future for you. They want you. You're going to do great things here. And he's like, I'm not coming here if you're not coming with me. And they don't get to finish their argument because the train's attacked, of course, by these three Green Lanterns are now the...
Radiant Dead.
Thank you. I was going to say Revenant Dead. Radiant Dead. So... but now that they've been possessed properly, they're like, hey, no, like we serve our mistress, and she's like the all-being, she's made us more powerful and all that, and does mention, or there's at least like an implication in some of the dialogue that is kind of hinting to the fact that this is a threat from another Earth with another John Stewart and all the rest of it. It seems like maybe she wants John's power as well as like taking him out of the picture so he can't stop her, kind of thing. So, but no, this is all fun stuff where he's trying to protect the people on this train. So it feels like a big action scene that has a lot of context because we know why they're on the train. Because the mum's there, it feels like there's like a civilian that we care about who's in harm's way. It's one thing to have a group of just random people who are innocent. It's another thing to have someone who's vulnerable who we know and now care about. So the mum being there adds a lot of weight to the stakes of the scene. So John's fighting these guys. They've got like these purple light tentacles that come out. It's kind of their power now. And the big ending of this is that the main Green Lantern here stabs John with a blade and then says, that's it, you've been infected, you're going to become one of us now. So that's the cliffhanger that it ends on. Obviously, I suspect that John's somehow going to fight this off. Yeah. But we'll see how that goes.
Evil Dead style, he's going to cut his arm off. And he's going to have a construct arm. And it might be a chainsaw, it might not. I don't know.
I feel like he's going to do a U-turn, go back to Steelworks and say, if you got like a medical lab somewhere, fix me, please.
Yeah. But hey, let us have our, John Stewart Ash moment. I think in a space zombie story, I think we've earned it.
I think this book is doing such a great job of having fun with the horror of the enemy, of the villain, right? And this idea of the Radiant Dead and the villain from another universe. But even more so, I think it's done a great job of humanizing John and this whole thing with his mom and getting a job where he's using his education and his like natural skills as opposed to his Green Lantern gifts. I think it's done a great job of making him a very relatable character who you want to root for. And I think this is something that John Stewart's probably been missing for a long time because he's been stuck in these Space Wars books for a long time. And
it kind of is like he's been a lead, but he only can be defined by the story that they're telling. There hasn't been time to really get to know John outside of the Zhan-Shi thing, which I'm glad we're not. I'm sure it'll pop up, right? I'm sure him having to look death in the face, he's going to have to, but it's not his sole defining quality.
I feel like they're developing his character, and whatever outcome happens with his mom, I can see his mom dying by the end of this run, and that's going to hit hard. And I think them doing all this to build up more mythology around him that's not just that one thing they always mention is a great idea.
And I want to know if Philip Kennedy Johnson's okay, because he's very good at making monsters, right? between the Radiant Dead and the Unmade, we got some ghastly creatures coming out of this guy's brain. So, I just want to make sure he's okay. That's all.
Yeah, no, love it. And the art is phenomenal. I mentioned that one page with the train leaving the city, but I think Montos, who I never really knew before the first issue, is so great at the character expressions between the loving looks between him and his mother, the friendly pride between him and Steel, and then at the end, this shocked look in his face as he's sort of like considering what this evil Green Lantern's telling him that he's going to he's going to turn into some kind of zombie or something. He doesn't have the context yet, but he's starting to learn, and he's looking at the stab wound and be like, oh yeah, something weird's happening here. So all very good stuff.
You were talking about the expressions, and the one that gets me is when they're on the train and she caresses his face, the mom, and says, my beautiful boy, and he just has this big goofy smile, right? But it hits because of the context of the scene.
Absolutely.
He's with his mom, she's not having any of her episodes, she's proud of him, he's getting a winning moment. So it's the shine before the fall. Montos's art just sells it. And his Radiant Dead look properly scary when they first come down, right? There's the single panel of all of them coming through, and the one that we'd seen his face before, but now it's half a skull and stuff. In fact,
one of the things they set up at the start of the issue is they remind us that Sector 28414 is off limits, and they're actually breaking the rules again, and the other two are complaining about it, and he's like, nah, it's fine. Because even when he's getting grabbed by the Revenant Queen, he's like, no, I'm like the next in line to rule this planet. Like he thinks himself as royalty. He thinks he's too important to die. So it's like extra enjoyable that he gets taken because he is very unlikable intentionally.
Well, and apparently he's a Durlan, which makes him a shapeshifter too. So it's even insult to injury that she was able to take him out just without him being able to do what he does. But yeah, I think that also goes with the long history of Durlans being jerks. So Changeling is the one good one.
And just the other thing in the art as well, we talked about obviously the actual line work of the faces and stuff and how expressive it is, but I'm just looking at the last page, and just the choice of panels here is very effective and interesting. You've got like a close-up panel where the blade's popping out of the panel, and then the bigger panel that's in, which is the stab itself, and then the bottom of the page is when John's realizing that something's not quite right. He's actually completely outside the panel that's drawn for him. Like, there's like a box like behind him that he's completely out of on every front. It's not like, because usually they'll stick out the panel and what, like the panel at the top with the blade, it's only the tip of the blade that's coming out of the panel. Like the other sides of the box are still containing the image. At the bottom, he's just standing in front of the panel. It's almost like he's outside his comfort zone. He's outside his box, if you will. And it's just adding to that effect.
Right.
Like it's really smart.
It's the same color as the Radiant Dead coloring, right? And it's almost like it's oppressing him, right?
Yeah, the purple, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all very, very good stuff. Like this, who would have thought Philip Kennedy Johnson on Green Lantern would be a match, especially Jon Stewart. And it's a very grounded story.
After War World Saga, I think we all did.
Well, yeah, I was saying that mostly with sarcasm.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure, yeah.
But yeah, no, just this book that it's Jon Stewart who, he is a very important Green Lantern, but they haven't treated him like that for a while. We were talking about that earlier, and this is it's giving him that importance that's been missing, and I'm still trying to figure out why 2814 is quarantined. So I'm hoping. I know he had said when Philip Kennedy Johnson had said this is going to be the next chapter in his DC story, right when he's done with action in January. So I'm wondering if he's going to get back to the United Planet stuff and why it's quarantined. And
I suspect, if anything, I think it might be a corruption thing. It might be like someone with a political motivations putting that into place.
Because in the tweet that he had announced this stuff, he had said, these little things that had happened at the end of Warworld, he is getting back to. He has not forgotten about them, and DC is, going to let him address them. But it's all in due time. So, I'm wondering if this is part of that, right? Part of the whole corruption of the United Planets and the whole Warworld fallout with Mongol and stuff. So, but this is a very worthy follow-up to his Warworld stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm enjoying the Green Lantern book, but this might be giving it a run for its money as to which one's the better Lantern book.
I can't believe we're gonna have 3 Flash books coming up, 2 good Green Lantern books,
possibly 3 because the Alan Scott book's coming. I don't know if
3. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good, but if it is, then
we have those Flash books. We got Green Lantern. We have 2 decent Superman books. We got Batman. Detective is killing it. Anyways. Taylor.
Batman gets a lot of good minis though, because that Penguin mini's great. The City of Madness is great. Even if the main Batman's not doing it, there's usually a lot of other good options for Batman.
True.
So anyway, what are you rating Green Lantern War Journal issue 2?
I'm giving this a 9.5.
Whoa!
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm going that. I think I'm going to go straight 9, but it's excellent. I really like this, and I left it to last because I thought, I have faith in this.
Main event.
So I read it. I left it to last. I started with Nightwing and ended with War Journal. That was my my path. But anyway, that is the book. Very good. So, Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 19, Mark Waid writing, Dan Mora back on the art for this issue. Happy to see.
Yep.
As always. And this, of course, is the one that's tying into Kingdom Come. We start off with The Flash, Barry Allen, talking about multiverses and running around. We get a glimpse of a bunch of them. We see, Red Sun, and we see Martha Joker from Flashpoint and whatever else.
I do like looking through all of those. I did waste a lot of time.
I'm sure you did.
At looking at you get the Batman or the Robin and Batgirl Thrill Killer are in there.
Sure, yeah.
Spent a lot of time going through those.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns is there, I think, as well. Yeah. And it's basically just him explaining this, and he's looking for David, the Thunder Boy. Boy Thunder,
yeah.
That was it. And he says, he's oh shit, I found him. Okay, so we see Superman, Batman, and Robin fighting Wonder Woman's villains, as they point out, and Flash just swoops in, puts them in a jail cell, and says, "We ain't got time for this. This is important. I found David, but he's in a weird world, right? So I'm going to try and send you there with the cosmic treadmill." Interesting thing here. I wonder how you feel about this. Is they do a 2-page kind of flashback, just recapping David's story. I think because it's been a little while since we had those issues, I actually thought this was just the right amount of time to spend saying, "Hey, here's what happened." But this is the sort of thing that I could see Connor complain about.
Not with me. You got to remember, I love continuity, right?
Oh, sure,
it's a problem. So being reminded and in this way, it was nice because I read so many comics, right? And I have so much stuff going on through here, right? Again, I wasted way too much time looking at all these different multiverses. So being reminded of Boy Thunder and the stuff that he went through and how we lost him to the time stream, that was a nice little reminder.
I tell a lie, it was only 1 page. I thought it was 2 pages. It was only 1 page.
Oh, well,
even better.
I believed you, so what does that say about me?
It's the sort of thing where if this was the last arc, I'd be, this is absurd. But because it's a couple of arcs ago, I'm like, I actually appreciate this. Was a year ago in reading, probably, when we were doing this. So I'm pleased for this. So to get them on this cosmic treadmill, Flash sends them off to. First, it's the future. It's post Kingdom Come, where the Bruce and Superman are are burying some of the other heroes, and there's this great 2-page spread as they realize that this is a cemetery just for superheroes, and you can sit and read all the tombstones here if you want with all the names.
There's too many people.
Yeah,
it's all of them, right?
Yeah.
So,
although I did laugh at one that just says Green Lantern. I'm like, hold on, which one? There's a lot of Green Lanterns. Even the Kingdom Come universe, I suspect there's more than one.
It should have said Green Lantern Corps, and it's just all of them.
So yeah, like that was a big deal. Red Robin's there. Bruce notices that, and he's like, wait, what does that mean? Who's Red Robin exactly? He probably thinks it's Tim because, main continuity, that is Tim, as opposed to Kingdom Come, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was Dick in Kingdom Come.
It was.
But but then they sort of like stabilize, like they said they would, and they end up much earlier in the timeline, before Kingdom Come happens. So it's that Earth, but it's much before. And we get a lot of fun jokes here. They go to Planet Krypton, which is run by Booster Gold, and this was a fun little gag here where they're like, have you ever heard of Booster Gold? It's like, yeah, not yet anyway. And it's like, oh, so Booster Gold in this part of the, because this is obviously set in the past, he's not shown up yet to our Batman and Superman. But they comment on what he seems like he's like based on the fact that he runs a Planet Hollywood style restaurant based on superheroes.
Yep.
So that was all just fun stuff. And they're talking about what's going to happen if they find David. Like, you can't really just adopt him. It's a bit tougher because you're this single guy who lives in an apartment. It was tough enough, and it was tough enough for Dick to be adopted, and Bruce is a billionaire with a mansion.
And he goes, and I'm rich. Like, my parents were rich,
Don't bring up that horrible quote from that horrible issue.
But yeah, so I did like that, and he goes, yeah, and it's still kind of a problem because you gotta, because he's still school age, you think. At this point, we've seen him on a date with Supergirl.
And social services are going to watch you like a hawk, which is not good if you're a superhero with a secret identity. It's maybe tough to explain things. So Superman reads some of their encyclopedias and stuff and says, "Hey, there's something weird about this Earth." And he's like, "What?" This Earth seems to have never heard of the multiverse. Like, they've never interacted with another universe, and that's quite interesting. And then obviously we get to David, who is grown up. He is older here. He's not the same age, and he is beating up. Who's the villain here? They're beating up. Atom Master.
I don't have it in front of me. Yeah.
Atom Master. And David grabs her head and basically burns her face, and it's really violent, and it makes her talk. But Bruce and Superman are like, "Hey, that was a bit much. She was already defeated. You didn't really have to go that serious." And then when David realizes that this is a Superman from, well, not his Earth, but the Earth that he was in briefly in the storyline, he's happy and says, I'm so happy you're here. I've been waiting all these years to finally do this." And then the last page is he's grabbing Superman by the neck, and he's firing off all of his powers. There's lightning and fire everywhere. So he's holding a grudge, it's safe to say. So this is interesting that we're kind of setting up, because I didn't think obviously I knew from Solicits where we're doing some Kingdom Come stuff, but when we finished the David story, I thought, oh, that could just be the end of it. He grows up to be Magog in the other universe, no biggie. But this is interesting that they're actually in that universe now.
Which is why I am very curious about the Kingdom book, because that's all about Gog, who Gog ends up giving Magog his power and stuff. It's very much a timey-wimey type of circle thing. So the fact that that's coming out in 2024, you would think concurrently with a lot of what's going on with Waid here, it feels like Waid's finally putting his stamp on things, like his final stamp.
It's interesting. Yeah. No, it's a pretty fun issue. I enjoyed the build-up. I enjoyed the Planet Krypton stuff. And, it's tough to say much yet. It's mostly just them reacting to this world and noticing the differences in it, which are solid enough so far. But very much the part one of at least a 2-part, if not 3 or 4-part stories. So we'll see where it goes. But we'll see why David's so upset next time.
Well, I would think that it's that they never came to get him, because it's been quite a bit of time, right? Because he was a teenager.
It's time for him, not for Superman and Batman. It's only been months, nothing. Probably,
right?
But, yeah.
But for him, I'm sure it's one of those things that he waited and waited. Now he's had to take things into his own, and maybe he was rejected by this, universes, Superman and Batman, because they did say time is a little bit different here, you know. But yeah, just the whole idea that Magog represented comics that Waid wasn't a fan of in the 90s. That's why he looks like Cable, right? Is he's a representative of that, and there, if you know, in the Kingdom, it deals with timelines and doing timey-wimey stuff. So, just the whole idea of Waid working out what he didn't like. Now he's come back and turned him into, you know, Superman's long-lost sidekick, you know, and that adds an extra layer of tragedy to all of this. Because if I remember Kingdom Come right, Magog comes and kills the Joker, right? And that's how he becomes big and famous.
That sounds familiar. It's been a while since I read it, but that sounds right.
So, you know, because I think Joker came to Metropolis, gassed the Daily Planet, and Superman, that's what leads Superman to go up to the Arctic for all those years. But then Magog comes in and ushers this new era of heroes. So just the idea now that this was Superman's sidekick coming in and protecting his city, it adds that extra layer that I really like.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously the art's great. Dan Mora doing his thing. I don't know if there's any particular standouts for me, other than it's just generally very good. Obviously the Cemetery double page is quite good, but it's a pretty simple, you know, thing art-wise. A lot of identical tombstones, but it's a nice moment in terms of like a big reveal. So, yeah, it's good. And obviously I think he's having a little bit of fun drawing the different versions of Superman and Batman, you know, a little bit older. Because even when they go back in time to the earlier part of the timeline, the Superman we see flying briefly still has a little bit of grey in his hair. It's like, okay, it's earlier, but it's still a different Superman for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, what are you giving World's Finest issue 19?
I'm going to give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's solid enough, but yeah, they're not blowing me away either. So, just a fun, good time with nice art. All right, Titans issue 4, Legacy 128. Tom Taylor writing with Nicola Scott on the art. So, this obviously continues everything that's going on with Beast Boy feeling conflicted. The encounter that he had with Garth last issue has made him think about trying to actually make the world a better place. So Raven tries to console him. They end up dealing with a couple of muggers, which actually led to a really funny bit for me, is that apparently Maggie Sawyer is really pissed because Raven keeps teleporting criminals to the jail cell at the police station without
but not saying why.
Yeah, with no explanation. She's like, damn, she really could put a note on them. They do tell the victims to go and report it, so that hopefully they'll be able to put two and two together. You know, once that happens, but that's good fun. But yeah, Garth's got this whole big idea where he wants to like help the world more. He wants to deal with deforestation, things like that. He wants to go and like plant stuff in Borneo. So they're like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's all go do that. Except Wally, because you're meant to be dead in 24 hours, so you stay here. And Wally's like, no, don't be silly. And then
do that.
And then it's like, who's going to keep me here anyway? And then Linda walks around the corner and she's like, I'll keep you here. And he's like, damn it, the one person who I can't say no to.
Yeah, he can't. By law, he can't say no to her. That's just the way it is.
And that was a good reveal, and obviously Linda's inclusion actually is a bigger deal in a minute, but I thought this was a natural kind of thing to do, is like have Linda be the thing that anchors him back, you know, to the tower. You know, and they'll talk about that meteor they found as well at the Church of Blood last issue. But so the characters go off, right, and deal with this. They end up fighting the construction crew. Is that what they're called?
Demolition Inc., something like that?
Demolition crew, that's what it is.
Demolition crew, there it is.
And so they're dealing with them, and just a couple of fun action pages, nothing too fancy. Donna uses some super speed and some stuff. It's all very fun. But the big thing is that Garth shows up at the tower and runs into Linda and gets talking. He says he's there to apologize to Beast Boy for the things he said. And she mentions that Wally's around arguing with Dick, but the rest of them are all away with Garth. And then he says, oh, we're alone then. Good. Then you just get this awful, full-on horror movie page of a parasite coming out of Garth's mouth and going into Linda's mouth. It's just two big panels that share the page. It's horrific. It feels violating, she's had this forced into her mouth. It's horrible. And obviously, you know, we said last issue it felt like we were doing some body snatcher stuff with this. And sure enough, now Garth's got Linda infected and is working for the bad guy. So every panel after this page where like Wally comes in and Linda's just sitting there, you're like, oh no. She's
in the background, just inconspicuous. Yeah.
She's a danger. She's a danger. And then, like, hey, we'll hide you out as well. So they take Wally and Linda to their base on Mars, which I actually like this detail. So because the Hall of Justice and stuff always gets attacked for all the tech they store there, they realize that their trophy room where they hide all the tech and stuff to get from villains shouldn't be in a place that anyone knows. It shouldn't be in their base. It should be a separate location that's, you know, safe and unknown. So they've got a base on Mars for this shit. And they leave Wally and Linda there. And, you know, the end of the issue, it's like, okay, well, we're perfectly safe now, right? Because it's just me and Linda. And then it's just a close-up of Linda, and they're like, maybe not. Linda's infected. She's got to body snatch you, Wally. In fact, she may be the one that kills you.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
This is, now they're alone. He's got the Speed Force, but they're on Mars. You know, they're a boom tube away. He's never been in more danger than he is right now.
Yeah. So, the person he suspects the least to be a threat is now a threat.
Yep.
So this was great tension stuff. I was super into this. I was like, okay, I'm enjoying the Beast Boy stuff. I'm enjoying continuing the Gar stuff. But it was when they infected Linda, and then like now like she's the threat at the end. That was like okay. That was a great cliffhanger. I'm into the fun horror stuff of this. Good stuff. The scene we kind of didn't mention is the Amanda Waller scene where she's pissed that the Titans are up to stuff, and she's like, nah, don't bother interfering. Let all the people who control Borneo, they'll hate them for this. So let them make some enemies, and that's just where she leaves it.
Yeah, which I disagree with her reasoning there, because what Gar said about we're always responding to things after they happen, but who's going to take, or as they happen, but who's going to take care of stuff after they happen? And it's a very clear moment from Beast Boy. So this whole, environmental welfare thing with him, it fits on. Because before I opened this, I got to thinking, we know there's a betrayal in the Titans coming up, right? That we were hinted on. And I was like, well, what if it is Beast Boy? We had all that stuff with him, post with Williamson. Post, what was the event we weren't big fans of? Dark Crisis. His psyche's kind of shattered and whatnot, but just the fact here that he seems to be at odds with Waller, I don't think it's him now. But looking at this cover with Waller on the cover, it made me think maybe it's him. But as the longer this issue went, the more I was like, probably not, because of how it plays out. So, although maybe he does, because maybe he realizes that they're doing more harm than good at this point. And it seems to be a lot of those things, looking at the solicits, that were seeded throughout. Where did what was his name? Dr. Fate, the evil one? Dr. Hate.
Dr. Hate,
How did I forget Dr. Hate? Where did Dr. Hate come up? Was that in the pages?
That was the tease at the end of Dark Crisis, I think, for the next thing. Yeah.
Or Night Terrors, right? Because it was more...
Oh, it was the end of Night Terrors, sorry, you're right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So with Night Terror, so looking at that and seeing like Dr. Hate seeming to be involved with the Beast World stuff, again, it doesn't make me not think Beast Boy is not heavily involved, but we'll see. But yeah, no, this was a pretty solid issue.
The event is called Beast World, so I suspect Beast Boy will be prominent.
No, when I mean involved, I mean on the Waller side.
Yeah.
But this issue though, I like Nicola Scott a lot, right? Her drawing Wally's face, there's something that's off with it. I don't know if it's the nose. It's because I'm so used to seeing her Wally in the Flash mask. So to see, clearly defined facial features and stuff, it just, for some reason, anytime I see her draw Wally, the face feels off versus all the other characters. But that's just, that's a nitpick.
Interesting. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I think the cliffhanger's great. I love the body snatchers plot that's going on, because it does make you go, oh no, when you realize he's going to infect her. It's this great grisly page, and then the ending being this like it literally says it doesn't get safer than this as Linda stares with daggers at her husband. So all that stuff's exciting, and even the idea of the base on Mars I think is kind of fun. So No, I think it's I love that this book is really giving time to all the Titans, and if anything, it's ignoring Nightwing the most because he's already writing a Nightwing book. You know, he needs the least attention. So, I dig it. I dig it quite a bit. I'm having a good time with Titans. So, what are you rating Titans, Matt, out of 10?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Okay, interesting. No, I think this is a solid 8 for me. I really dig the Body Snatchers plot. I'm having a good time, and the Beast Boy stuff's good too. So, yeah, but I enjoyed this more than Nightwing this month. I guess is what I'm saying. So, very good. J. Garrick, The Flash, issue 1. Jeremy Adams writing with Diego Olortegui on art. Olortegui?
Close enough.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, obviously Adams is no stranger to writing a Flash character, but this is someone a little bit different. It starts with a flashback to 1963, which I guess is when the Golden Age happened now. There's the 60s.
I mean, you have to take it with the age of her, right? She's supposed to be about 12. So her being born post-World War II makes a lot of sense, right? So she's born 49-ish? 50?
That'd be 51. If she's 12.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because 63.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not an approximate thing, Matt. It's a pretty straight, clear bit of math.
Yeah, I know maths. Numbers suck. We've been over this.
I think this is just a case of we're sliding the timeline a little bit because...
I don't like this because that means now the JSA is going to be heavily involved in Vietnam. Right? Like, I don't need this. It's World War II or bust.
Yeah, but I didn't realize US was in Vietnam as early as 63 until I watched The Twilight Zone this past week, and it was about a soldier coming back from Vietnam, and I'm like, wait, this episode's from 1963. Was that already happening?
So it wasn't full like the pop culture that we know from like the war movies and stuff. Yeah. Right? That's later 60s. But yeah, they got early. They sent over, what was the word that was used? There was a certain phrase that they had used because they weren't officially declaring war, but they were sending soldiers over to like help train and whatnot. But yeah, part of the Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories involves Vietnam stuff, right? So you had to assume he got shot and killed in 63. So yeah. Anyways, I don't like the fact that we're putting our Golden Age characters so close now, right? Because
I mean, you say that, but then we've got young Robin in World's Finest having like smartphones and talking about
I don't
TikTok
like that
trends.
Either.
So
that's about equal.
It makes sense if Silver Age Robin has got smartphones, then it makes sense that the Golden Age characters are in the 60s and 70s now instead of the 30s and 40s.
Ugh, I'm gonna throw up.
You're an old man, Matt. Accept
I don't like it. I know. I don't like it.
So it's 1963, and it's Jay and the Boom, as we'll call Judy, are rescuing a dam that's been lined up to explode. The villains kidnapped Joan, Jay's wife, and so Jay's got this big thing where he tries to get all the bombs. It's a fun page with him darting around the dam. So it's like the Hoover Dam. It's this big, flat dam, and he gets in, he does a whole thing where he has to, he misses one stick of dynamite, so there is one hole that gets made, and he has to kind of fuse the concrete together and sort of plug it as best he can, just so it'll hold for a bit until he can come back and make it more permanent. And he runs in, but when he comes in and he says, "Where's Judy?" Or the wife says, "Where's Judy?" He's like, "Judy? Who are you talking about?"
We can't have kids. We've been over this.
Yeah. So this is the moment where she's been erased from time. We see actually come back to this later in the issue and see the exact moment, but this is the general moment where she disappeared. Cut to present day, and it's 75-year-old Joan seeing Judy again for the first time. And this is where we get Judy's narration talking about how it's weird because all these things have changed. Everyone's so much older. The world's changed so much. And, she left in the early 60s, because it does this great panel where you see, like, Bart's been using her old bedroom. So you see, like, a computer and, like, stuff all over the floor. And then you see her bedroom from the 60s, and it's, like, the same room, but it's, like, empty.
There's nothing. Yeah. And that's just how it was. It was just there was less things to do. Yeah. Or not to do, but less things to, like, hold and collect. And, Plus, Bart, his name is Impulse. I feel like he's a lot like me, where he's just buying stuff to have it,
Sure. He's got a computer and he's got a TV with a video game console by the looks of it. You know, he's living life like a teenage boy, like seriously. Yeah, so she's a bit overwhelmed with all this. You know, things are so different, and they give her some time, and she hears on the news that there's a villain up to stuff outside, so she speeds off. He's like, you know what? Everything else feels weird. I don't feel like I'm home the way that I thought I would, but I can still be the Boom. I can still go be a superhero. So sure enough, she runs off, and I actually like this moment because Joan comes to give her some like cookies or something, and she gets really scared that she's missing. And of course she's scared. She disappeared once before and was gone for decades. They basically, well, they didn't even declare her dead. She literally got wiped from their memories.
She didn't exist, right? This is like when Wally came back, right? Now everyone has the memories, right? So now she has to go through that feeling again that she's missing.
But this is more like Dawn from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that she never existed originally. This is actually a new creation that's been retconned into existence. So anyway, yeah, so she speeds off and she stops a bunch of villains, but then Jay shows up to like sort of finish the bad guys off, and is like, hey, we need to talk. Like, you scared the shit out of your mum with disappearing like that. So they have a bit of a debate about it, and then this is when it flashes back to seeing, you know, the other side of what happened, which was Judy going in to fight the villain when her mum was kidnapped, and we see that the villain who's going on about the greater good, like one of the bad guys from Hot Fuzz, the greater good, he's got all these nefarious plans, and he seems to like be aware, like so Judy disappears like she's in like a Marvel movie, like getting snapped. And he's watching from the shadows, and he seems to be aware that she's disappeared, you know? And he's like, hey, this is my chance for a second chance, no matter how long it takes. So it really sets up that this bad guy, whose name I'm looking for in the book, because I can't remember.
It's Dr. something, right?
Elemental. Dr. Elemental.
Yeah.
There you go. So, yeah, he seems like he's going to be the villain of the story, and what he's been doing for all these years with Judy gone, if he's not been interacting with the heroes, who knows? But this is what the book ends on. It ends at the end of this flashback where it's the other side of Judy disappearing. So what did you think of this book? I just kind of went through the whole plot.
No, yeah, I liked it a lot. It's Adam's doing Flash, which it feels like a warm hug for me, right? And just the whole idea of Joan and Jay having to come to terms with the fact that they didn't have a daughter. Now they do have a daughter. Now they're older, you know, but they know what it's like to raise a kid in, you know, their later life because of Bart, you know, so the tie's there. And then just the idea of this Dr. Elemental and like, who's he going to end up being to the Flash family? Yeah,
it feels very pulpy. And they notably kind of like obscure his face. And Judy says, I've seen you before she disappears. So, I wonder who this turns out to be. From the history of the Flash stuff. So we'll see.
So but no, I love it. It's just all this stuff with you know, the Flash family again. It's one of those books that when the more characters there are to kind of lean on, I feel the better it comes off. So just this whole idea when they mentioned that, you know, Bart's off with Max on some other adventure, you know, so they have room now to deal with Judy. You know, and they look at the picture of the Flash family and how big it's grown now, right? Like,
which is partly what makes her feel alienated. Is like, hey, when I was here before, it was just my parents and me,
just us.
And now I look at this photo and there's Bart and Wally and Barry and Avery and, you know, Linda and everyone else who's involved.
She doesn't know about Barry and the fact that, you know, let's say that she did know Jesse Quick and Liberty Bell. Doesn't know that they had a daughter that became both Jesse Quick and Liberty Bell, you know? Like, there's all this whole big gap that she has to come up with. And I kind of like this, you know, character out of time. It almost is an update of Impulse, just inverted, right? Because she comes from the past, she's in the future. He's from the future, he comes, you know, to the past.
Which is easier to deal with from a narrative point of view, because you don't have to have this character who knows, like, all these things, or they should know a bunch of things about the future. So it's a character who we know more than, and hopefully, you know, and I think so far she does seem quite likable. She, you know, all of her like worries and fears make enough sense, and kind of the awkward situation of these two old people now suddenly being parents to someone who they should have been parents to her at this age about 30 years ago. Well, more than that even, because it's
60 years ago.
I mean, if it's 2023 in DC Universe right now, then yeah, it's ages ago. Which actually means that these two are actually too old. Like, they shouldn't be alive anymore. Like, if you think about what age they had Judy at, even if they had her at, like, 18, that would mean...
Let's say that Jay was 22 going into World War II, which means he was born in the 1920s. He's easily supposed to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
You know? So...
Well, I'm just thinking, let's just say he had Judy at 18. She's 12 in 1963. That means that he's 30 in 1963, plus the 60 years means that he's at least 90. So even by my more generous count, he's 90.
Yeah. So, but with the Flash, you can always just say, "Oh, Speed Force, whatever."
What about Joan?
It's well, I remember reading a thing in one of the JSAs that because she was married to him, like the aura.
This is bullshit. This is such like the headcanon bullshit.
No, it wasn't headcanon. It was in.
I get that someone actually wrote it into a comic, but it's still it doesn't matter it was written. It's still headcanon bullshit.
Even in the early 2000s, we were looking at how old the Justice Society was, right? Like, you know, and that was 20 years ago.
But they were all like frozen in time or something, right? That was like part of the con. I mean, which I guess maybe is the case here. But again, is Joan frozen in time as well?
No, because she shouldn't have been because she wasn't there. Yeah.
It's
Speed Force, bro. We don't have to explain.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy the characters are around. I just, if anything, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, you know what? 1963 is actually too far back for this to make sense. If you think about what age they must have been to have a 12-year-old kid in 1963, if anything, this should have been probably 1983, which is really scary.
Don't like that.
Matt,
but just
technically, the timeline based on everything, I'm saying that when you were born, technically is now the golden age in DC Comics.
I like it. So
that's pretty fun.
But yeah, it's one of those just things too. Like I feel like Johns and his love of the Justice Society has kind of screwed up the timeline. But there'll be ways to fix that. I'm not that worried, just as long as the stories are there. And you know, Flash. I always equate Flash stories with a lot of heart. You know, so as long as the heart's there, and I trust Adams to deliver on this, you know, and also Flash characters add themselves to like the Rip Hunter time police type thing, too. So this ends with Judy going through time to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen, and she becomes one of the Time Masters or the Time Hunters, whatever they're called. You know, that's a nice place where we can still
that's a really bold prediction.
I'm just saying,
just similar this ends, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying if that were to go, you know, because you know whatever, then we don't have to worry about the timey-wiminess of it, because I'm thinking of all the other Justice Society kids that had come back. This is the first one that we're really interacting with, you know, to have to think about when they were. I mean, around.
I suspect it's the only one we're really going to interact with for the most part. But it's a solid pick because we get to have Jay focus for a change, and Judy is kind of the central character, which is fun because she's new, and we can explore things from a different perspective. Yeah. So
well, and I like how unconventional her name is too, because they're the Flash and the Boom. You know, so that kind of it also goes in with that era of heroes, right? Where you got like the atomic bomb, that was the Flash and the Boom. You know, and people would out here at least would go and watch atomic bombs getting detonated. You know, so it kind of fits in with that hokiness of that time era.
The art is solid. I think the stuff early on with the dam and Jay running around all looks quite fun. The various, you know, I think it does a decent job with the facial expressions and like selling the moments that are emotional. It's like it's not as good as some of the greater examples of it, but I think it goes beyond just being like house style, I think, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, and it fits with what we've seen in the Flash too, with all the different artists. You know, it's very flowy. It's got a kind of a bounce to the art, almost like a cartoony quality in parts, which I think matches the Flash very well. Yeah,
well, I think because we're dealing with the Golden Age characters, kind of, even though we're not in the Golden Age anymore, is a bit of pulpiness doesn't hurt, and I think certainly Dr. Elemental feels very pulpy, so I'm curious to see how this develops next issue. And, you know, maybe we'll see Judy meet some of the other speedsters next issue. That could be fun if we do that. So, what are you rating J. Garrick, The Flash, issue 1?
I'm going to give this an 8.5. I really enjoyed it.
If anything, I feel like the name should be Judy Garrick the Flash issue 1 or the Boom issue 1, but I think it's because they're like, oh no, that won't sell as well as J. Garrick the Flash.
Yeah.
Because she is the main character so far, let's be honest.
If I can remember, this is the first time I remember a J. Garrick main title, right? I don't think he's really had a solo book.
Not that I can remember.
Some time.
Yeah. I'll give this an 8 for me. I think it's just a solid 8. I really enjoyed learning about this new character, who we got a bit of as in the Stargirl mini, of course, but this was a bit more focus. So I'm digging it. All right. So finally, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong issue 1. This is Brian Buccellato writing with Christian Duce on the art. And this was an oversized issue 1, which I was not expecting when I started it. So this isn't in like modern continuity. It's just, you could argue it's in the past, or it's just in a slightly alternate, timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's actually set around Clark proposing to Lois, who knows he's Superman by this point, right? This is not like he's not told her that. They're having dinner on top of the Daily Planet because that's where they first met, and he's about to propose, and they got some cutesy conversation back and forth, and she's like, I wasn't ready for Clark Kent or Superman, and he's talking about how he was in awe of her. It's all very sweet. And when he goes down on one knee, there's a rumble, and then there's a 2-page spread of freaking Godzilla standing at the shore of Metropolis, right? And then the book flashes back to 12 hours ago, right? So we get a little tease, because they know that they're not getting to the monsters too quick, so like we want to give them a little tease of Godzilla, a big G. So... it goes back 12 hours earlier and it builds up to that. And I had a good time with this. I had a lot of fun. I think, like, Buccellato, I wasn't sure what to expect from, because I wasn't a huge fan of the Manipool and Buccellato Flash run. I wasn't that into it. Yeah. But here, there's a good chemistry between Barry and Hal. The duo of Green Lantern and Flash are kind of a big part of this issue. They're talking about Superman, like, really doing a lot of overtime recently. And it's because Superman's planning and taking Lois on a trip after he proposes, and he's never taken a vacation since he's become Superman. So they're talking about how this is the first time. So it's like he's going to twice as many disasters. He's pushing himself to the limit to make it feel like it's justifiable that he can take time off. And there's a couple of nice little moments here where Barry's explaining, hey, we can't be everywhere. The point is to do as much as you can, but without burning yourself out. That's the line for a superhero. Is you do what you can, but not at the expense of being able to do it again tomorrow, kind of thing. And Kara shows up, Supergirl's there, and she mentions that Clark's going to propose, and they're, she's there to sort of fill in the Justice League while Clark's on vacation, and Hal gets all snooty. He's like, oh, because the Justice League can't do anything without a Kryptonian on the team, and Barry's like, jealous, and he's like, a little bit. So... the banter here is pretty good. It's good fun, and they do a good fake out here actually, where they look over at the screen and they see Superman flying towards what looks like it could be King Kong for a split second, but then you realize that because it's just a silhouette in the city, but then you turn the page and it's Titano. So earlier that day he's fighting Titano, and it's a whole big thing. Flash goes to help him, but Superman's already won the fight by the time he gets there, and they bond a little bit. They're saying congratulations, but, Lois has not said yes yet, so it's the whole thing. Diana says, congratulations and best of luck and all that. And that's when we introduced the Legion of Doom, who are in this book. We cut to them at their base, and they're watching the Superman Titano fight, and they're like, shit, we keep losing, damn it. And they start bickering about how they're going to eventually beat the Justice League. And Black Manta's like, hey, we can do this. We've got the wits. We're smart enough. We're good enough. We just need a plan. And Lex is like, I've got a plan. I'm going to take the Justice League out. Just you wait. And his plan involves flying them to the Fortress of Solitude, where they break in, and they want to get a mother box and a Phantom Zone projector. And Lex's plan, because I thought his plan was going to be, we're going to find some kaiju, right? But his plan was, we're going to trap them all in the Phantom Zone. So they're in there. And one of my favorite things about this book is that one of the members of the Legion of Doom is Toyman, and he is the loser. He is the doofus who can't help himself. He says stupid stuff. And even as they're explaining that there's alarms on everything in the fortress that will alert Superman if they take anything, so they have to be careful and do whatever Lex has got planned, Toyman just picks up this red crystal that's on a stand and sets off the alarm immediately.
What a dork.
Which sets off Superman, who's actually talking to Bruce, who is like trying to talk him out of proposing for a minute because of the whole secret identity. Well, not the secret identity thing, because she already knows who he is, but this puts a target on her, always been around her. And Clark's like, no, this is for the best, like I love her, blah blah. And Bruce is like, okay, that's good enough for me. All right. There you go. I approve. So Superman gets the call, but Kara calls him and says, don't go. We've got this. This is your date night. Go and propose. Like, Supergirl, Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl will take care of it. So they go to the fortress. They have a fight with the Legion of Doom. It's just a couple of pages of action. Nothing too big. But it ends with them accidentally hitting the mother box, and it sends the Legion of Doom somewhere. Right? Meanwhile, Clark's on his date with Lois, and we get the start of the date, and it's all fine. The Legion of Doom are in a jungle, and they're like, where the hell did we go? We don't even know if we're on the same Earth, right? And they're like, what's going on here? And I think it's Black Manta who's like got his scanner. He's like, there's life forms everywhere. Like something weird's happening. And out pops, I don't even know what you call them. It's the monsters with the tails from King Kong.
The skull crawlers.
Yeah. One of them pops out, and then King Kong jumps out and, beats the shit out of this. And they're all looking at him. And one of the things I said last week when I was like anticipating this week is I said, because I didn't know the Legion of Doom were going to be in this book, but I said I had to see Grodd react to King Kong.
Yes.
And not only do we get that, he's the first person who does react. Like, King Kong jumps out, he's fighting the Skullcrawler, and there's a panel of Grodd just look with the eyes wide open in the art going, an ape? God? Like he's completely floored.
That's fantastic.
The rest of them all run into this like research center, which has got like tabs on all the kaiju, and they even see Godzilla on the screen. But Grodd stays outside and tries to communicate telepathically with King Kong, and they're all just sort of like talking about how he's going to get himself killed or whatever. But Toyman's looking at all the screens and he's like, oh, all these monsters look great. Look at all these wonderful toys. This could be our chance to fight the Justice League here. And it just cuts to a panel of Lex Luthor going, allowing you into the Legion was my greatest mistake. I love how much they hate Toyman. I love that he's the asshole. But so he's holding this red crystal and he says, I wish, and then it lights up. So this crystal, I don't know what this is from continuity. I'm sure it's something. But basically it grants the wish that he has. So you don't get to hear it, but you just see like King Kong with a question mark above his face. And then it cuts back to Lois and Clark on the top of the building where we started the book. Superman flies off the Daily Planet building as Lois says, I love you. And the final page, which is the page of the issue, is Superman. We're behind Superman as he's flying towards Godzilla, who is like just taking up the entire page. It's beautiful, and the sun's starting to set in the background. It's gorgeous. Like the art in here is good. It's not amazing, but I would say that the big action moments look fantastic. Like, Godzilla looks great. So this last page could be something you hang on the wall, because it's just this anticipation of Superman flying towards Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm kind of excited for Superman, and they set it up because they had him just kick the shit out of Titano like it was nothing. I'm actually kind of looking forward to Superman thinking he can handle this, and then Godzilla just being a little too much for him. Godzilla's just too big, he's too powerful. Especially, like, what's going to happen. He's going to hit him with the heat vision, and then Godzilla's going to be like, oh, really?
Uh-huh.
And then he's going to hit him with the atomic breath, and that's going to be glorious. So you can predict some of the moments, but they're too good not to do. Right? They're too good not to do. So I actually really liked the fact that it didn't rush into it. It gave you a little tease at the start, but it was mostly about the Legion of Doom building up to how they inadvertently end up bringing the kaiju in for another Earth.
Right.
And there's like a rush of excitement as you realize, oh shit, they're on Skull Island. Like that's what we're doing right now. So, good fun. I had a good time. I am absolutely in for issue 2. I suspect Matt will catch up because I feel like he's not going to be able to resist us.
I will catch up. The idea of Grodd and King Kong alone, that moment I have to read.
Yep.
So. And the Toy Man stuff is hilarious. So I like Brian Buccellato. In fact, I have a original sketch by Buccellato up right here every time I record. So getting to hear his name again and that it's mostly positive.
It's been a while,
I'm excited.
You know, but yeah,
so
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that a nice, good, fun 8 out of 10. Like, you know, I can't praise it and say it's like high art necessarily, but I think for you read the title, Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong, I think if
you know what you're in for.
Yeah, if you're excited by that title, I think this book is what it should be. And unless you're someone who expected to have all the action in issue 1, and I'm glad it's not, I'm glad it's building up properly, then I think it's good stuff. 8 out of 10 for me. So there we go. And that'll take us out of the part of the show we pick our favorite stuff of the week. Favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite artist, and top 5 books. So we're going to get into it. What's your panel / moment of the week, Matt?
So I do like, there's some in Flash that I like, you know, the realization that Judy, her room became Bart's room and that type of stuff. That's real nice. Superman had a couple fun ones, right? Like him figuring out how to use the chained prison to come out. That was really cool. But mine's gonna be from Nightwing when he actually freezes, because I want to know what's going on with that more.
Sure.
Right? Because it's just him on the ledge and he can't jump, which is, we know that's like who Nightwing is, right? He jumps before he thinks about it, and he just can't. So that's the moment that sticks out for me the most this week.
Yeah. For me, I was very tempted by the moment in War Journal where they're leaving the city, because that page is just so gorgeous. And it really gives that sense of awe of like Metropolis, which is something you don't always get. That said, though, it has to be Titans. It has to be We're Alone. Good. Full page Parasite get into her mouth.
That's pretty good.
It's a great moment. It caught me by surprise, and I really enjoyed it. So that is that. Cover of the week. You got any picks ready, Matt?
So no, there's a Manipul. Funnily enough, names get brought up. There's a Manipul Flash one that's half Jay, half Judy. That looks really, really cool. I like that. But Dan Mora this week, really going above and beyond. His World's Finest cover.
Yeah, he's also got a Nightwing cover I'm just looking at now, which is
Nightwing,
got a bunch of different versions of Dick Grayson in the background.
Going through, like, he's doing the jump, but each one's a different version, right? Robin to, right? But he also has a Godzilla, or Justice League Godzilla Kong cover in there that looks really cool. So I want to shout him out, but mine's not even going to be one of those. World's Finest has a Nakayama cover that has Lois and Catwoman on it, and looks like they're meeting at the top of the Daily Planet, and has nothing to do with anything else. I just like the way that it looks. So that's going to be mine.
Sure. There's also a Jamal Campbell Nightwing variant, which I think is worth mentioning. There's a lot of good covers this week, honestly, across the board. I think, though, I'm going to go to one that I used to pick a lot for Batman covers with Godzilla, Kong, Justice League, and that is Matina, who's got a cover where it's just very colourful, where you see all the different lights of all the various Justice League members around the edge, and then in the middle is just Godzilla with his mouth lighting up for the atomic breath. It's just really pretty, and it's just a chaotic sense of like colour and energy. So, good stuff. I'm not surprised that there's some good covers of that. There's a nice pair of Christian Duce ones where it's like it's like just Godzilla on black, and then a King Kong one where he's on black. Which look kind of pulpy. So
my only problem with Kong is he looks more like Bigfoot, than King Kong.
That's fair. Yeah.
But you also can't make him black on black, right? So
for sure, you got to do a different color.
Yeah.
You could have done a white background, I suppose, but you wanted to match with the other cover, so
right.
It's the whole thing. So yeah, very good. All right, art of the week, Matt. What you got?
Mora's really strong in World's Finest. Nightwing by Byrne, also very solid. But come on, it's Montos for Green Lantern War Journal.
Yeah, Montos takes it for me as well. Mora's great, obviously. Scott's great. Byrne's great. There's a lot of good art this week, but Fundamentally, I think that was just the one that spoke to me the most out of the bunch. So, all right, top 5 books, Matt. Go.
All right, so number 1 is going to be Green Lantern War Journal. 2 is going to be... I'm trying to remember what I gave my ratings this week. I'll say 2 is going to be Flash, 3 Nightwing, 4 Superman, and 5 World's Finest. That seems about right. Yeah. Well, okay. No, yeah, we'll go that.
All right. Number 1 for me is Green Lantern War Journal 2. Number 2 is Titans issue 4. Number 3 is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Wow.
Number 4 is... we'll go Jay Garrick, Flash number 1. And then number 5, I'll say... I'll probably say World's Finest sneaks in there. Just over Nightwing. I'd love to give more love to Superman, but it tipped away in the back half for me a bit too much. So I still liked a lot of it though. So I had a good week pretty much for books. Just Catwoman, which I obviously wasn't expecting to love, was the weaker thing. So as we said earlier, we'll do City Boy issue 5 in 2 weeks on week 1 of November. So look for that then. And even remind us on Twitter like that week if you want, just in case we forget, because it's possible. It's very possible. I don't deny it. So yeah, I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. So, and it's a pretty big week actually. We have Detective Comics 1075. We have Action Comics 1058. Green Arrow issue 5. So we'll see how that is. Wonder Woman issue 2, which I'm very looking forward to. We have The Flash issue 2. We have Harley Quinn 33. Batman Brave and the Bold issue 6, Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 7, which is the final issue of that. We have Batman Catwoman the Gotham War Red Hood issue 2, Tales of the Titans issue 4, The Penguin issue 3, Alan Scott Green Lantern issue 1. We have Power Girl issue 2, Batman Beyond Neo Gothic issue 4, Steelworks issue 5, and Amazon's Attack issue 1. So healthy set of books. We got a few new number 1s between the Green Lantern book, the Amazon's Attack book. So that's exciting. Plus, Wonder Woman issue 1 was so damn good that I am really pumped for that. So
yeah. So and just so you know too, it says that Tales of the Titans, Beast Boy, it kind of sets the stage for Beast World. So I'll probably be reading that one.
Oh, okay. I mean, it would be my 10th book, I think, if I read that. Yeah. But if I feel up to it, I might try and squeeze it in as well. But
yeah, it just says, but that could just be them trying to sell more.
True.
But it just says it acts as a lead-in to Beast World. But yeah, so who knows? But we don't have Brave and the Bold to go because there's no...
Yeah, the Tom King books, the story's not in there. Yeah. I mean, I'll double check just to be sure during the week, but I don't think it is.
I'll definitely be starting with Flash this week because it might take me 2 days to read if it's as wordy as the last one. So usually I start with Detective. That's what I look forward to, Ramby. But, Flash, after what happened last time, we will see.
It's a good idea. I don't think it's a bad idea, certainly.
No.
So there you go. That's what's coming next week. And that will pretty much wrap up the show. This has been episode 378 of Comics From The Multiverse. And of course, share the show around. Like the show on YouTube. It helps out a lot. People will find it better if you do. 5 stars on iTunes, all that stuff. But of course, you can support us the most by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting there for a few dollars every month. Maybe get early access at a certain tier, or bonuses for all the other shows we do, which I don't promote enough of on this show, I don't think. But there's a whole set of movie podcasts that I do as part of Mail Fuzz Movies, both on YouTube and as released individually in audio feeds. It's October, so Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast, has got a bunch of extra episodes, and we've been bouncing around some good stuff, some bad stuff, and some very, very, very bad stuff. So if that's...
Off mic, you have to let me know what the very, very, very bad stuff is so I know to stay away. Or, currently, to know what Tim thought, so I might check it out to see if he's crazy.
Well, the worst was the last Twilight movie, but you know to stay away from that.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me.
So, yeah, go check out Screams After Midnight. That's my main recommendation. If you want more of me and Connor, we have been reviewing Smallville. We're actually reposting old season 1 reviews that we did years ago, but we've been recording new season 2 ones and they've been up really early on Patreon. So there's like half a season 2 is now on Patreon if you want to check that out on Patreon. But those will eventually come out publicly as well. Those release every Monday, but right now we're still working through the old ones that were already done in 2018. So because they were part of our longer podcast, the runtime on those season 1 reviews are like varying. Like some of them are short, like 13 minutes, and some are like 40 minutes. All the new ones are all like 30 to 40 minutes because we're like that's us getting together and Connor getting drunk because he's miserable about Smallville. So.
I was gonna say, how many of those early ones were attached to an arrow where he had to take a drink every time a certain phrase was said?
He's kept some of those drinking rules for Smallville, although one of the rules that's been added in specifically for Smallville is anytime they do a really cute wink reference to the fact that he's going to be Superman. For example, in one episode where Lana goes, "Yeah, I forgot Clark Kent's a Man of Steel, that's a drink." Or when Lex looks at him and says, you know, or Clark said, because Martha's taking a job with Lionel and she's going to be in helicopters a lot, and Lionel's like, "Hey, is your family used to flying?" And he's like, "Nah, not really." "Well, that Clark, that's about to change." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, there you go. Wink, wink." They do it so, like, there's usually at least one per episode where they have a really in-your-face, like, he's going to be Superman, like, moment.
It used to be my favorite show.
Because you're a fool!
Yeah. Also, TV was different a little bit, so, you know. I took what I could when it came to Superman.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go check that out. Anyway, there you go. We'll see you next week for another episode of the hugely popular Comics from the Multiverse. Is it? I don't know. Maybe slightly.
Why not?
Some of you like it. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.